Yes. Thank you so much for joining us once again. It's a pleasure to have you in a beautiful day. And you have one amazing guest today. We are blessed to have an accomplished and business service sales and marketing leader with 17 years of experience delivering extensive and successful acquisitions and managing teams, adept at orchestrating the development, presentation, and adaptation of alternative solutions, procedures, and services, standards for business transformation, competitive edge, and return on investment, leading dynamic teams in fast-paced markets and displaying the personal drive required to turn business opportunities into revenue growth and profit across both private and public sectors. One and only Paul Angatia. Paul Angatia, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
It's good to have you today. And as we normally start here at our Africa Stalking podcasts, in collaboration with Impact Masters podcasts, we like to know our guests. And not just normal stuff where, you say, I went to this company, I went to this school. No. We want to know, who is Paul Angatia? Where are you born? Where did your life start?
Sometimes it's called a trick question. And I used to interview people, we used to call it the most unstructured question you can ever get. Because you need to structure your mind and try and address what is relevant.
Yeah.
So I could start from when I was born and all these things, the 40 plus years.
Yes.
But a lot of that might not be very relevant. So I'll try and just stick through to what seems relevant. Born over 40 years ago, as I said. I know men are never shy about their ages. So that's 44 for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the older you are, the better it is for us. It's called wisdom. Born in Kakamega, but moved to Nairobi. I was about 3 years old. Went to school, primary school and secondary school was in Nairobi. Lavington Primary and Lenana School. Picked up a few things there, rugby, football, basically sports, athletics. Represented Nairobi in 1 or 2 cross-country championships. That's in the 90s. So I was a bit of a sports person. Actually, I still run half marathons, try and climb a few mountains here and there. But besides that, I always had a thing about trying to influence people right from primary school and influence them in the right direction. So I had a bit of what you call a posse, a clique. People used to hang around. One of the advantages I had was that I was quite fast and then I was also very strong. So, boys like crowding around people who can bail them out in fights.
So did you influence people and then run, or how did this work?
Well, no, not really. So
because you said you like influencing people and you're also very fast. So
So I built a bit of a reputation in terms of sticking out for people, getting out of fights, defending people who are, weak. And so I had people who used to hang around me like a team. We had a small, I don't call it a thuggish one because it was a positive one. But we would go into, causing positive chaos where somebody is being bullied, we can get in there and try and sort out things. Where we're trying to influence or impact or get a good thing going. Would force our way through, by just talking to people in the right way and showing a good example. So that meant that I ended up being a prefect in primary school. I was also a prefect in high school, quite senior all the way to fourth form.
The reason why we go back from the start is because we have realized, I might say, for instance, I work for Africa Stalking, right?
Yes.
And what I do, and sometimes that might not make sense if you don't know what influenced my decision to do what I do, where I do it, right? We've also found people who are entrepreneurs, like you are, and you might never know, maybe they left a very huge, well-paying job to be entrepreneurs. But when you understand, how they were brought up, where they grew up, the experiences of growing up, I've found out over time that actually shapes who we become in the rest of our life. And even choosing our purpose. Like you said, you defend people. I will not say, why would you defend people, right? Even this question, where did your life start? It actually based on that, so that whoever is listening, whoever is watching us, they can understand Paul actually grew like this in this setting. These were the experiences up to where he is. So if you don't mind, we can start from the beginning. I don't know if you guys went to nowadays the CBC, where people are spending like 3-4 years in before even they join primary school. I'm sure back then it was just nursery, class 1, and then
onwards into primary school.
So did you go for your nursery school here in Nairobi or back in the village?
No, I was privileged that I started off nursery school in Nairobi. My dad was a politician.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
An MP?
He was an MP, yes. When I was born, he was an MP at that time.
Okay. That is interesting, the way you're putting it.
So... well, politics is up and down.
Okay.
So because he used to spend a lot of time in the village, and then he would come to Nairobi for 3 days a week to be in parliament.
Okay. So was he an MP in the village or in town?
So he was an MP for a village constituency in Kakamega.
I see.
Yes, but now he had to come into Nairobi, of course, for the parliamentary days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So understandable.
And then leave Thursday for the village, and then be in the village Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then back to Nairobi on Tuesday. Anyway, those days, not to put it badly, but they used to work. They used to put in a lot of work. And
I agree with you. Yeah. Nowadays, people don't work.
No.
Yeah. People are just having good time here in Nairobi.
You can operate in Nairobi for 5 years. And then you go back to the
have
villages.
some cronies there, take your business.
Yes. And then go look for votes again. But those days, they had to put in the effort. So I think I grew up in that environment where you would see a lot of selflessness. Is trying to just make a difference in society, do things which will impact lives positively. And I think I picked a bit of that in terms of social entrepreneurship.
That's from your father?
From my father, yes. Looking at opportunities and seeing how can you make things better? Or if you can't make things better, how can you make things stable enough for those who are there to make things better?
So that's where the influence came from?
I think so, yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes, because now there would be a lot of people coming into the house. And those days there were no restrictions. So we'd have people coming from the village and they stay with us in a 3-bedroom house for 2-3 weeks. So you're sharing the house with all these strangers that you really don't know them. But they are constituents. So they are more or less the people who've employed your father. Yeah, so you'll tolerate them. So, whatever you're eating, they eat with you. You have to go to places, they say, they also want to go. So you find a way to take them around town and places like those. But you would see from what they were striving to achieve that there were a lot of gaps in society. And they felt that there's this one channel who's now the MP who could help them actually get through their gaps, make an impact in their lives. If it's taking kids to school, if it's starting a business, if it's supporting farming. And so in just having discussions and talks with them, you'd hear them, complain about very basic things. And you'd understand that, education could make a difference here. This guy just went to school. He would know better how to deal with such a situation. And education helps in everything, whether it is healthcare, whether it is hygiene, whether it is even just longevity of life. So that was a strong point for me to understand that the impact of education transcends many other things in society. If you can start on the education level, all the other things can fall into place.
So you're saying if maybe the policymakers set proper strategies to ensure that people get education, then that actually in return solves most of the issues that we see as big issues right now.
Yes.
But let me ask you this, now that at least I'm talking to someone who has been close to power, in quote.
If you call it so.
Right now in our northern part, there's a lot of drought, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any education that can solve that at the moment. The only thing that those people need right now is food. Before even you talk about, we will dig the wells, because that has been promised maybe since I was born. It has never happened. And actually, I don't understand this. Maybe you can help me. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you can help me understand how this works. Because I don't see if it's rocket science to dig some few oil wells around the place. Because the other day we got the Tulo.
Yes.
Where we are mining oil. Guess what? That is already working. System in place. And I had there a couple of I don't know how they measure well, but there are a couple of barrels
of oil.
Yes, that are coming from that place. Do you mean digging water and oil is I don't understand that, because even when we are, and this actually is common ground for Africans,
yes.
to be honest.
Yes.
When during campaigns, leaders would traverse every single corner of this country.
Yes.
But let's come to where people need help. Like right now, people are dying of,
Sort out a problem.
of anger, right?
Yes.
It's becoming a whole Kenyan issue. People have to raise funds.
Now there are no
There's
helicopters.
no money. There are no helicopters.
No four-wheel drives.
Our military is not working. And it kills me to know that we can solve some of these problems once and for all if we want.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So the challenge from my perspective, and I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know everything, but I know one of the things that has held us back as Kenyans, as Africans, is what you call the big man syndrome. So in the past, what used to happen before we had this new constitution and devolution, if your man was not in power, it was very unlikely that you would find or get any development.
Oh, yeah?
So the reason why everybody then had to coalesce around this big man and entrench all sorts of weird measures like, monies to drive campaigns.
Yeah.
Of course, in that way also driving corruption up was because when you're around the big man, you have access to resources.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you come from. Now, if you are not close to the big man, it's very unlikely that the resources will trickle down to places where the big man doesn't have people.
Yeah.
So if you are like in Northeastern...
So you have to align.
Yes. So you need to align. So
you have
that
no choice.
The big man can once in a while fly there and hold a rally or a fundraising or something, open a hospital, and then you find people seeing cars for the first time, seeing people drinking water because they've carried water from Nairobi or wherever.
Yeah.
So the challenge was that in that whole period, whenever people got into areas of or power positions of influence, they went to build themselves instead of building for the community.
Okay.
You realize that we don't have. It's not like 100% across Kenya that we do not have education. Yeah. Education reached everywhere, in my opinion. Even in those areas you're talking about, that Northeastern, and they are educated people.
Yes.
The challenge we have is that those people got educated, left the village, came to the urban centers or wherever it is, and they realized that problem is too big for me to go and solve. So they went to build their life away from the village completely. And then they'll go in there and take photos once in a while, humanitarian, we need to raise money. But we
and
have
do a drive
with
the nice cars.
Yes. But we have people originating from
and
those
cook
areas.
chapatis
There we go.
on the streets.
Yes.
No, I mean, those people who do that, of course, you're doing the small way you can.
It's a hustle,
but I think what you're trying to say, or you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that we can do more if we bring the resources together, we are intentional about it.
Yes.
That this is a problem we want to address.
Yes.
And if we rally around it, over time it might become
it becomes less and less. I mean, as you say, it is the trickle of the water that breaks the rock. It's not the other way around. You think the rock is tough, but the trickle consistently. Yeah. So if you find somebody who has come from that area, they obviously know what problems are there. Yeah. They can write for you books and books about what issues they are, and they even have ideas on how those issues can be resolved. Yeah. The only place we've now seen that there's a chance is with devolution, because suddenly we are pushing resources down to those villages, whether they like it or not.
Aspect about devolution.
Yes.
It's good that you've brought it up. I've been meaning to have someone think differently. Yeah. And I hear you think differently. Don't you feel like most of the resources are going to paying, specific people or recurrent expenditure as opposed to, serving people, trying to solve issues? Because I hear even some counties, there is over 90% of the resources that goes into recurrent expenditure. You find a new governor, they don't like the house that was there and they want to build a mansion for themselves. Yes. And you ask yourself, this person, by the time they run for governor, we know, all of us know at the moment right now, it's about money. And this person is, the threshold that they have in terms of money for them to run for the office. Yes. You ask them yourself, were they sleeping in the bush before they became governors? And also there's this other issue of employing guys who supported you, which actually beats the logic of devolution, whereby it's supposed to be more of, I'm not saying that you should not reward people who actually were with you in the journey, but we can do it better. So I'm like, maybe when we started about devolution issue before 2010, it was like resources were managed at the national level, which is Nairobi, the capital. But now people wanted resources on the ground.
Yes.
And someone else actually can argue that if maybe we hire, say, 100 guys, that's money in the pocket for 100 locals. Which is okay.
Yeah.
But is that the way to develop? Because at the end of the day, there will always be few who actually benefit from this and majority. And again, the alignment comes into play. So maybe in your experience, having being close to to power, do you think there is a better way of doing devolution? Because I don't feel like we should do away with it altogether. Even if we do away with it altogether, there's supposed to be a clear way of getting resources down to the people in that area. It might not be through governor and all these ministries and because it comes as a full-fledged government.
Yes.
Again, which is redundant when you think about it. So how do you think we can go around this with your experience?
Okay, I think when it comes to just utilization of resources, we got a very poor example from central government. Because even in central government, when you look at expenditure, I think we're heading towards maybe 60%.
So we operate on debt.
So yes, so we trickled everything. We trickled corruption, we trickled misuse, mismanagement. But ideally, our hearts are usually not in the right place, in my opinion, especially with the people who are in the political space. Because like in those marginalized areas, they would understand what is the priority like for Northeastern. Probably water. So we have cattle, we have schools, but water is such a big priority that it should transcend everything else that they're trying to do. Now that means that any priority project that is being built up should have water somewhere in the middle there, because when water is in there, all the other things will move on. Healthcare will improve, education will improve because children are now spending more time in class instead of going to look for water. The agriculture, whether it's keeping animals, whatever it is, will improve as well. But then there are some responsibilities that have to be national, which is like power, which is like even water. The basic items, basic needs, ideally should still be with central government. But I understand where they've said, okay, now we've devolved that problem. That problem now is for those guys. Do
you think they're escaping the blame or?
They are shirking the responsibility. Yes, they don't know. Now it's easy to say, but the governor gets money.
You have your governor there.
Go and ask the governor. The governor doesn't have the money he has is not sufficient to cover the challenges around the ground. And the problem from there is because we didn't start from an equity level. It's not equitable.
And there was even no education around that.
No. We just jumped in and we said, okay.
Who is running for governor? Maybe the expiring MP who wants to retire and be close to his home area.
In fact, where you know that the understanding wasn't even clear even to politicians. Many of them ran for what? Senator. When we started devolution, that was the prime position everybody wanted, senator, because governor is like, what does governor have? Let's go for the Senate. You realize all the brilliant minds, majority of them ended up in the Senate.
Right now is when they're
going. Then
they
realized, within the term, they realized we don't have any power here. Now they started agitating to go back to the county to be governors. And a lot of them, after one term in Senate, they moved to governor. But back to the issue. The issue is that if we could have started on a level where there's some equity in terms of, understandably, places like Central and Rift Valley were close to power for many years. Central was even close to the seat of power. So you can understand that a lot of infrastructure has been built up in Central, in Rift Valley. Areas that are far from the center of power meaning Nairobi, not necessarily a person, but Nairobi. It would then mean it's easy for you to get a good education if you're in Central Province as compared to if you're in Northeastern. But how would we have brought this Northeastern person closer to power? It meant that the government must have had to invest in those areas, which never happened because we go back to the big man syndrome where we never had enough people in Northeastern who were influencing enough of the power, enough of the resources to come to their place. So what did they then do? They decided we will just fend for ourselves. So they and their families are doing very well. But for the rest of the community, it's not doing well. So had we started on that level where at least water is available across the country, now you can build on that. But now here, we're talking about people building up ICT industries, EPZ in Central, Rift Valley, Nairobi. When in Turkana, even when we talk about laptops for the kids,
they don't get to Turkana.
They don't have power. How are you going to even power this gadget? Forget about power. They don't have
there are
classrooms.
basic needs that we need to address.
Yes. Before you come to saying now, let's give money to the counties. Because when you give this guy, he gets 2 billion, the guy in Nairobi gets 12 billion, for example, hypothetically speaking. The Nairobi person is dealing with what? Slum issues, maybe
4 million people.
Like
the whole country is here.
But these fellows seem to have a way of surviving. You know, guys who are in Nairobi are proper hustlers. The guy in Northeastern, he just sits there waiting for government. He can't do nothing. He sits under the tree. Half the time they are sitting down with begging bowls. What can they do? They can't dig. They don't have inputs. They don't have fertilizer. When do you get any agricultural produce getting to Northeastern, for example? It doesn't happen. But then you ask yourself, why is it that you'll find that Rakanyiti, Nyandarua, people are throwing cabbages alongside the road, feeding their cows and all, because they don't have a market.
Yeah.
And people in Garissa are dying of hunger. It doesn't make sense. Yet we have devolution. Why couldn't these two governors speak? And then you get the lorries to go to Nyandarua and pick the cabbages and take them to Garissa. And then we pay. Yeah. Create a market for these farmers who are struggling to even get produce to the market. Because you have people starving, not even just survival, starving. They are dying.
Some of them are dying.
Yet we are feeding cattle
and you know,
cabbages.
The sad truth here is that every year this happens. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that people die. And for me, even with my small knowledge, I don't consider myself knowledgeable. It's actually, I can't think about it because you have seen this over and over and over again. And you know, every year this is gonna happen. And after maybe now the rains have started, right? Yes. Now that's not a problem.
Now we've forgotten about it.
And another thing that I've noted is that every time there is a fundraising, most of that fund does not go to buying these people food or digging oil. No. Like right now, I heard they have raised around almost $1 billion. Yeah, a few billion. Actually, the government gave $2 billion. If you dig oil now, that the wells and also the dams, you do a lot with that money. That actually would solve at least half of the area or maybe a quarter of the area, whatever it is. And next year, do something around it. Yes. Put strategic measures towards some of this problem, and it becomes, you know, the people. Actually, the good thing about Kenyan people, that one thing that I've realized, and the reason why even we are doing well is because we are hardworking people. Yes. We put in work. Yes. If it's for our leaders, by the way, it would be worse than any other African country. But because every time we are faced with crisis, we are able to mitigate it and work hard, and it looks like nothing. Yeah. So I think leadership there needs maybe something.
There's a big challenge there because you can't have the same problem over and over every year.
You know what they say about that?
Something to do with your mentality and your sanity. So if you were to look at it in the sense that even you as a person who comes from a home, and you realize every year when the rains come, my roof leaks. So when it's dry, I need to fix this roof. So you come in there, you patch it. When the rain comes again, you realize the place you patched is okay, but there's another place leaking. You patch again. Then you say, okay, let me save. I need to buy a proper roof. Over time. When the next dry season comes, I'll replace the roof. You and I think that way because that's on a very basic level. You would imagine that it's the same mentality that goes into corporate thinking in public sector. But then it's like when somebody gets into those positions, you remove one mind and you take out another mind that now runs things very differently. Because at the end of the day, if you were to say every year, just dig one borehole, even if it is in Northeastern, wherever it is, the county government says, this year we are going to do only 2 boreholes. Now, you've reduced the challenge and the pain of these people who've been going without water. Forget about even going far distances. Even those far distances don't have water. Now they have 2 boreholes. Next year you say, okay, out of our supplementary budget or whatever budget we'll do, let's dig another 2. Over time, we've had 10 years of devolution. Yes. Where would we be? You have at least 10 wells, 10 boreholes.
Actually, the problem even is not about devolution because this has been there even before devolution.
That's very true.
And it has been the same problem. Yes. I was in primary school. I used to hear that, Northeastern is not the place to live because it's too hot. Sometimes there's drought,
hardship,
and even I think there's affirmative action that is in place to excuse those guys to be admitted in the university when they get
lower grades.
Yes, but why don't we? But anyway, someone can argue and say one man's problem is another man's business.
No, that is very true.
And I tend to lead on that side of
that's
things.
What it is. Yeah. If you look at it as you were saying, complaining about the funds that are raised vis-a-vis what gets to the ground, you'll find a very big spend on logistics.
Exactly.
Very big spend.
And administration.
Yes. But then, even in those same areas in Garissa, the guys who run the trucks and the lorries and the transportation are locals.
Yes.
Why can these locals say, we're going to go to Nairobi and pick the food that has been collected and we get the guards that have been provided for? It will be at our cost because it is coming to help our people. They will not do that.
This is one thing that I've come to live with because, to be honest and to just be fair, I've never been to Northeastern. And this year actually was to go to Lodwar.
You should.
And do something different actually that will address this problem, long-term solution.
Yeah.
That was just imparting skills and knowledge and ensuring that people at least have access to the global economy.
Yes.
Which actually, breaks them from that boundary of, I'm in Lodwar or I'm in Northeastern and, I'm left for death or something that is worse than that, right? So I think I need to take care of that challenge so that I can, because for me, I don't like looking at things from afar whereby you don't understand what is happening. Yeah. And you've never been there. Yeah. I don't know. Have you been to know this?
I've been to Samburu. I've been to Lodwar. Been to Lokichogio.
Yeah. At least you are speaking from from informed point of view. Yes. That aside, the reason why actually you're having this discussion because you said your dad was in politics.
Yes.
And there's another question I had around that. Your dad being in politics and coming on Tuesday and leaving on Thursday in the evening or Friday in the morning.
Yeah.
How much influence did he have on you? Because right now there's this parenting issue of people getting challenges on like, how can I be the best dad? How can I be the best mom? And if you had now, I'm a politician or I'm a busy businessman or I'm an entrepreneur, it adds actually more. You have less time with the family.
Yeah.
So, what lessons did you learn from that?
Yeah, I think for majority of kids, they don't ask for much. They just, apart from that presence part, it's also to see that their lives matter. Like when you're around, you're actually around. When you're able to spend time, you're actually spending time. Now we are in the microwave age where you're on the phone, you're watching TV, you're speaking to the child. So half the time, the attention is very split. So even when they grow older and you're calling them and their attention is on the phone and it's because they learned from you.
Yeah.
So what I've realized is over time, it makes it easier if you can involve the kids, especially in what you do. My dad, from time to time, when school allowed, most of the time we're in school anyway.
Yeah.
When school allowed, we were on the campaign trail. We were in there going to visit villagers, going to find...
because Chief, what you are saying in simple terms, you can hit the road and get the seat.
That's a long story.
Or it has never happened. We'll get there, no worries.
We'll get there. So anyway, it helped to give visibility on what exactly happens when this guy is not around.
Yeah.
So what is he doing? And you get to understand, if this thing is important to him, it must carry some weight. And then you realize, indeed, it's because of the impact that it has in society. And even much later in life, I would go to places and somebody like, you're so-and-so. I remember that he did this, that. Those are not things I would ever have known that he did here and there because he was not somebody to go announcing the things that he's done.
True.
But you see the impact that you live in society.
So he's a true leader.
Those old guys they actually did a lot of work, in my opinion. They did a lot of work. At least those who turned out to work, they actually worked. So if you involve the children early enough, if you're coming to school to work on a Saturday, say, okay, you have a child, say, let's go to work, to the office, they sit around. They'll get bored, of course, but they feel so honored to be given that importance that you can carry them to your workplace, which they know is very important to you.
Yes.
That's why you're always spending your time there. They're always like, where does this guy go every day? Okay, today he's taking me. Wow, okay. They go tell the kids, their friends in school, hey, my dad took me to the office, he did that, the other. I have 2 daughters, and they'll always do that. When I go to the office with them, they'll tell stories in school.
It's an adventure for them.
Yes, because a lot of the other dads just go to work. Nobody even knows where this workplace is.
That's a great stuff that you've shared here.
Yeah, so it's difficult for them to align. When you hear dad is having challenges at work, you're wondering, what is work anyway? What is that work thing? Daddy? But when you hear, we met the boss and the boss is a very difficult person, they can understand who that person is. And they know, okay, that's what it takes for that to put food on the table for us. But if you disappear and appear, what does this guy do with his life? They don't know. But you're saying you're working. So sometimes it's just to appreciate and involve people in the things that we are doing so that they understand what it takes to be who you are. Because the challenges in life today are too many. Half of the time, the things that you're dealing with, a lot of other fathers or parents are also dealing with the same.
True.
But because we usually think our problems are the biggest ones,
True.
so we close ourselves up and try and sort them out on our own. Yet, as they say, there's nothing new under the sun.
True.
People have gone there before us. Well, apart from things like crypto, which are new, but so many other things that are not new. So people have been there before you.
Yes.
They know how to address some of the challenges you're going through. So sometimes it's to share and see how best can you be there for the people who matter in your lives. Because at the end of the day, jobs come and go, occupations come and go, but at some point you'll have to sit down and have a reckoning with yourself, like, what have I been doing with my time? So that's what I learned from my dad. He really involved us, made sure that we would understand, we would do campaigns, we would stick posters, we would go. We distributed money. I used
50-50,
to be given a trunk, like the ones we used to go with to high school. It's packed with money. I told,
you have to give.
They have sent, I don't know how much. We couldn't count, of course. It was too much. So put it there and you told, we're going for a rally. You sit behind the pickup there and people come. So you told everybody who comes, just give 50 shillings. Maybe 10 years old, 11 years old. Everybody 50. One of my other brothers is counting the people.
Older or younger brother?
No, older. I was the youngest at that time. So him is counting the people, me, I'm counting the money. So I just give 50 each. And the other guy is counting how many people. Then at the end of the day, okay, so how was it today? We give a report. Hey, where we went.
So there's accounting and everything.
Yes. Where the center, this is what happened. And then it tells you, do you know what that means? Do you know what 50 shillings does for somebody? I don't know what that is. So me, I have no idea. He says, okay, look, 50 shillings is going to buy unga for that person. They're going to get oil. They're going to get some sugar. So at the end of the day, that family...
When 50 was 50.
When 50 was 50. That family will be able to, last like a week in some level of luxury.
Yeah, that's like 50 cents US dollars for those who are listening.
Yes. So it is almost zero, the way you look at it. But at that time, because of the value, it meant that we understood why this was so important to him and what our role was. What could we do to help in this? Because just sitting and saying, okay, how was it today? And then he tells you something, mumbles, you can't understand. People are many. What is people? I mean, many. What do you mean by many? Now when you're on the pickup there, you're the one distributing the money or giving out, helping out people, buying them lessons, distributing the head scarves for women, selling out the manifestos, giving out booklets, trying to recite the, loyalty pledge. Then you understand what it means to be Kenyan, what it means, what your role is in life. So you're just not here to go through life and exit at the other side, through a VPN. You actually have to leave some value. So that's
you didn't just say through a VPN.
And from this side to the other, it gave me a sense of responsibility and ownership. Take up stuff where you can do something to help somebody else. Do. It doesn't matter what that person will do for you.
I have a question around the 50 shillings.
Yes.
And this is something else that I've picked up over time, how this politics is run. You give someone 50 shillings. Of course, if you do that every day for the campaign, say 6 months, and you're doing it even for a constituency, you're doing it for like how many wards? Maybe 5 or 6. In a constituency.
Those days there were many, but let's leave it at 5 or 6.
Right now they are not, because there was
split.
Yes. So that's a lot of money if you think about it. And sometimes the calculation goes that these guys give more than even they will ever get as salary for the 5 years they're in office. And there are people who argue that's form of corruption. For people to be influenced to give you votes. Also, there are other people who argue that this money is taken somewhere for rituals. So that once you take that 50 bob, you always vote for that person. I cannot deny, nor confirm about this. But there is all these arguments around giving people the quick solution as opposed to like serving them. Also, there are other people who look on the flip of the coin where they say, if you don't give these people money, they will not vote for you. But I think that is changing over time because you have seen guys who actually, even they are given transport to move from one ward from one ward to the other, and they become MPs. Like we have now Silisi MP. I think he's from around Kakamega. I can't recall his name right now, but the current Silisi MP. What do you think we can change this now that we understand that actually what is required is not a quick solution? Is a long-term solution that actually these people become empowered as opposed to dependent.
Okay. So there's a theory around what we call the path of least resistance. when people find a way they can do things in an easier manner, they will always take the easy way. We are human beings, regardless of what benefits they are on the long path.
And the reasoning.
Yes. Which is why even they say for like heaven and hell, the wide path has more people because it's the easy one. But to your question, you see, previously at that time, even I had those questions when I was growing up. So where is this money coming from? What does it do? But I realized at that time, the machinery was such that the ruling party, which was KANU, had so many resources around the country that they used to raise money. Parties actually did activities to raise money. KANU had, whether legally or not, the ownership of KICC at that time. So they used to raise money from rent. They used to sell all these farm inputs. They had a lot of outreach programs. They had field officers who used to do stuff like on behalf of the party. So here there's an area that the president wants to grow agriculture. He wants to introduce new estates for coffee and tea. They would drive that kind of initiative under the party. So the party would raise money. Also, when everybody was, of course, you had to pay nomination fees. Now, there was no other party. So everybody in the country paid nomination fees to this one basket, one pot. So there was enough money at the end of the day to actually run campaigns without having to dig too deeply into your own pockets. Also, people used to sit and listen through campaigns and initiatives for, if you have a manifesto, what you're trying to tell people. They would sit through because these things are resonating with their daily lives. How is this going to change my life? There's been a big shift. People sit through those things, and half the time, everybody's waiting for the end of the rally to collect the money because they have appearance fees.
There is not important.
No, they have a sitting allowance. So they're coming to sit there. Once they finish, they queue, they finish. I ran a bit of a campaign for nomination this past campaign. I know that's 2022. It's come before you asked the question. And the challenge we had was that, yes, you map out a zone, you say, these are the people I'm going to speak with, and you go and you create some publicity around the event, and people come for the event. And at the end of the event, you have to. It's now given. You have to give out some money.
So what happens if you don't?
So what happens is they'll attend that one rally.
But next time you're calling people, no one will ever show up.
And the worst part is, these guys will attend this one. In the afternoon, your competitor has another rally. They have gone there.
It's a business.
Yes, in the evening when you say we'll be having a kikao somewhere at my home, they will be there. And you see now we have also motorbikes. It's very quick to move from one end to the other without people knowing. The biggest challenge was that you would find 40 to 50 to 60% of these fellows, number one, don't have a voter's card. Number two, those who have don't vote in your constituency. So you're giving money to these fellows, but none of them is reaching the ground because there's no impact. The fellow comes, attends your rally, you give him the 50, thinking it's reaching his mother and his other people, and he'll spread the word. But the people are not in your constituency, so they're not going to vote for you. So that is one of the challenges that we've had with a lot of money in the campaign trail. But the big problem is politicians themselves have pushed that kind of
and
mentality.
It's every other divide.
Yes, it's them who pushed it because they don't have content. When you don't have content, just come and shout, holler on the microphone there, shout a few slogans, make some noise, 2-3 slogans that are repeated over and over.
Movement.
Yeah, we will do this, we will do that, and then sit down. And then you just remove some weird utopian. We'll get the road. We'll put dual carriage. People clap, they're happy. Then you give money. If you ask any of those fellows, what did you hear today in the campaign? They cannot recall a single thing. They know that the guy came, we saw big cars and all.
And they were given some money.
Yes.
This guy is given a Jirongo, the other one is... You remember even that narrative back in the days where
that was
money was named after...
Jirongo. Yes. That was a politician. I mean, we understand the histories around it. But the big problem is, how do you make that mental shift? That mental shift goes back to what we started off with, education. The moment you realize, I can do better for myself with what I have. You shift your thinking completely. You will not go spend a whole day in a campaign rally. Who are those who sit in those rallies? You ask yourself, when they are sitting there, where's the productivity? How is this country growing when every day we are in the campaign rally, every single day? So who's digging the farm? Who is taking water to the cattle? Who is building the houses? Nothing is happening. So it means in that period, we shut down the whole country. We just go into campaign mode. Now, because I'm not working, what do I expect? If I sit through your rally, you're going to compensate me for the time that I've been sitting here because I never went to my farm today.
True.
I never carried anybody today. So you pay for the time. And that's what has heightened the pressure until now. We're almost at breaking point. You cannot have a rally without people removing money. The other day, the president had a rally. I mean, that was as a national celebration. It was a challenge to get people to attend.
Yeah,
This is a national.
Uru Garden or
Yes.
something? Yeah.
So October.
Even those rallies, people get paid.
Yes, I mean, because we are used to crowds and we don't know that there's mobilization that happens for these fellows to show up. But when it is happening, somebody has left something
I'm
else.
sure the president is not ignorant of that fact.
But
He's a good mobilizer.
But now, in this
Since
case,
1992.
yes, in this case, there was no money being
So
paid.
he assumed
this is a national event.
Maybe someone decided to pay
We
themselves.
don't know. Either way, there was a very poor showing.
Yeah.
And this is coming soon after the election. You would expect that we are in euphoria, we are happy, we want to come and
This is our
celebrate
president,
ourselves.
you voted him in.
We were seeing empty chairs. What does that tell you? Either we've realized, indeed, the importance of my life is my people and make sure that my family is fed well
okay.
and all. Or it could be that majority of the supporters were not from around the area, so they couldn't make it for the event because they were attending the county events in their respective rural areas. It could be that. But at the end of the day, we've commercialized so many things until it's hard for me to convince you to do anything for me just for the
Without
sake
pay.
of nationalism,
Yeah.
for the sake of patriotism, for the sake of a good heart. There's always what is innate in me here for me.
So there is no selflessness in this,
There isn't. And that's why I usually say in my head, if my dad was to wake up today and run for he wouldn't even make it as an MCA. He wouldn't make it.
They say village elder.
He would not make it as an
Village
MCA.
elder.
Because
Leave alone MCA.
Yeah,
Where
which we
if
now-
someone just volunteers
Yeah.
to just be
Do things, yes,
reporting
for free.
on what people.
And even those now, there's a bill in Parliament to pay village elders. I'm sure you've seen it. It's been introduced. They want now village elders to also be paid. I think it was 3 weeks ago.
Which makes a lot of sense because
They
life also has
probably do the
become
most work.
very, very. Yeah,
They probably do the
guys
most
who
work.
know the
They're the ones who
ground.
resolve the basic issues. But the challenge is, how do we get people to not need government? Because the less government you have in society, the better that society.
And there's growth.
Not the opposite. Now we want to bring government into everything.
Yeah.
This is where the challenge arises. If you want me, I pay. Every day I'm paying my taxes. I'm going to see the chief. I'm having to pay another everything.
You open a
everywhere.
business, there are like
Yes.
4 or 5 licenses.
Government is on you throughout. There's too much government in our lives.
Yeah.
That's why we can't live. And that's why we've centered so much of our activities around politics that there's little room for anything else to happen. So innovation is suffering. The things we could do as a country, there are a lot of them that are, we have thriving spirits in us that can make them happen. But then the brilliant minds that would be doing those things, where are they now?
They're leaving actually,
All of
and
them.
that's why I was almost saying that is that why entrepreneurs and innovators are leaving the country en masse, and even some of the engineers, because I deal with them a lot,
Yeah.
they're also leaving because when you look at ATS, you might work remotely and you're paid really well, but
Yeah.
now government has an online tax. I don't know
Yeah.
which other tax,
Yes.
pay tax, what not
They're
tax,
in everything.
So you ask yourself, it's not bad to pay tax, it's okay, but we ought to see where these taxes
Yes. How is this
used,
helping me?
right? When you hear 5 billion has been stolen and someone becomes a governor, you're not encouraged because that's your money.
Of
In
course.
one way or the other,
Yes.
that's your money.
Yeah.
It's like someone stealing from you and you're told, we'll have to reward this person because they stole from you.
Imagine that.
It's a conversation I think we need to have more and more.
Yes.
And I think it's good to have you here as an entrepreneur and even speak about that because at the end of the day, we all want a better Africa. Not only even Kenya, a
Yes.
better Africa. And
Yes.
the only way to build that is by telling each other the truth.
Yes.
Because one thing that I think even most leaders, and you can tell me if your dad used to think like this, is that they think the more they amass to themselves, the better off they are. But I'm of the line of thought that if more people are more empowered and there is more resources that is equally distributed across the African continent, there is more even to pay you what you can steal.
Yes.
And it is sustainable because if you amass a lot to you, and what people do, I don't know, you can tell me if your dad also did this, is that they take a lot of this money or resources or shambas and whatever, and then if it's money, they go and hide it somewhere, maybe say Switzerland or there was this other place in South America.
There's Cayman Islands.
Yes,
There's all sorts of places, yes.
One thing they forget is that this money they're putting there is developing those places.
Yes.
And where they call home is not developed.
True.
And also they forget that, everyone has an expiry date. You like it or not?
Yes.
You will die,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But do you think your children will actually have this and do something out of it? Of course not, because they learned from you, as you said. If you go with your dad and see, my dad was not this rich. Within 2-3 years, and right now you can do the calculation. This guy became a billionaire. But the salary that they are paid in the businesses, you can always do the calculation. It doesn't matter. Of course, what does that do to your children? It shows them there's a shortcut. And they always strive to get a shortcut. Guess what? They're not as experienced as you. What happens? They either get depressed or they get caught or they die in the process. Whereas what you wanted to achieve is not possible. So I think in the long term, just to conclude this analogy of politics and politicians, you can tell us if your dad, was of the different school of thought, is that it's more sustainable to build wealth together. Everyone, you empower everyone to build wealth, and there's enough for everyone. But before we just conclude, which school did your dad subscribe to?
So
now that you are, and it's unfair to have this conversation about your dad.
No, but I'm the one who brought him up, so it's fine. So I think those days, I think the politicians in the 60s, 70s, 80s, a lot of them were Pan-Africanists. That meant that they tried to look out for how can we grow together, because there was a drive around, if I just amass for myself, I have dependence for life.
Yes.
If I amass and build people around me, I free them and I give them that ability to go and grow other people as well. So one of the ways you can look at this is, for us, like at home, in my home country, where I come from, my home county, we don't have much security. We've built houses, we've done this. We don't have high fences, we don't have electrical, this, that. People walk in and out of the compound anytime. Why? Because we have nothing to fear. Because
there's
people could see, this person has gone out of their way to try and build each of us, take people to school. He was schooling at any one point between 70 and 100 children anytime, paying fees for them out there and all. Sometimes I would be kicked out of school because of fees.
but the other children were not kicked out.
Yes, because I could use the name and I would get a few more months in school. The others don't have a name. Then it's either you pay the money or you don't pay the money. So he would pay the money there and come and say, he writes a letter to the teacher and say, we're going to pay. Please, you can take my word that we will pay fees. And he would pay, of course, because they understood that, there were a lot of challenges he was running with. But it extended to the point where even for moving around, never had guards, because there was nothing to fear. You're growing with the society, you're building up people around you. You have less things to worry about as compared to when you amass yourself and become this king, the big man. Now you need people around you to safeguard.
Like even right now, people work with I don't know how many cars.
You don't know how many years. But you say you are a man of the people and you're loved. Okay, then just let's mingle.
Yes.
Because I need to be able to come to you and say, look, hey, I have a problem. Can you assist me on this, that, the other? But if you put the blockades, what is this that you fear? And yet you're saying you're one of us. So if you're one of us, let's feel the pains together so that we sit and we can say, okay, how is the best way to solve this issue? And we come up with better solutions than me sitting up here and loading it on you, telling you this is what you need to do. Because you have no idea what's going on down here. So I think his train of thought or his school of thought was build the community. And the community becomes your security and your safeguard. Because they are the ones who will go out there saying, no, this is our person, this, that, which is what used to happen. Until when we got into this level of where there's so much commercialization, now even the community wants to be paid. But by then, people just gave of themselves. Let's go to a rally. You'll find people who are mobilizing. You'll have other people who are distributing pamphlets. You have other people who are providing security free of charge. They're just happy to be associated with a movement that is positive. Now, we need to get to a place where we can charge people up to that level. Because if you're working from the heart, you don't worry too much about what you're getting out of your work. If your work fast output, when you say in startups, fast output is the revenue. You lose all the other steps because your focus is only on the revenue. And when somebody else realizes that this is all you need, they'll provide that revenue for you and they kill you. The rest of the things, you have nothing else, no other substance.
I agree with
you didn't build that up. Even when you go to the politicians now, when you go to elections, as you're saying, an MP probably gets 60 million over the 5 years. Assuming he attends all the sittings, he's in all the committees, which is like maybe 1 million shillings per month. That's the official money, allowances and everything. 60 million. But MPs spend upwards of 60 million in the campaign. Probably 100 million. How are they going to bridge this gap?
Their first, CDF? What was the name of that?
It was CDF. Now
the first CDF done, or half of it. There we go.
There we go. What do you expect? Even no it's so bad until even the people on the ground understand. Our man has to eat fast. You have to eat fast. You have to return the money he has invested. Why? Why do we do that? Because we've heightened expectations and the importance of politics so high up that we have to live off what it gives to us. It's like the biggest employer.
Yeah.
It is so sad when you get entrepreneurs, industrialists.
They want to be
going to politics.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough brilliant minds left out here to do what they were doing. Now the guy goes and becomes an MP and he was running an industry. Who's going to run the industry?
It's done.
See, then he realizes the industry is so much work. This is much easier.
Yes.
Now he starts putting all the resources into this and the industry dies. The industry was supplying and supporting how many lives? Many. You have no idea how many of them.
Yes.
Now they are all sitting waiting at his gate. When he comes out, they need some payout, some handout. So that's the big challenge we have. Not just the brain drain for people going outside the country, but the brain drain of people coming out of deep occupations where you think to these microwave surface things, because as they say, they've reduced the profile of an MP to the extent that what do they go and do in parliament? Some of them you'll never hear them for 5 years. Never. There are people who've never spoken, never given a maiden speech.
Yes.
But there's no law that says you kick him out.
Yes.
We had the law to say we can recall, we killed it. We had the law to say we need to set the margins and the caps for the salary. Yeah. We found a way to maneuver. Now we threaten the Salary Review Commission and tell them, hey, if we don't
touch that,
we'll disband you because we have the power to do it.
We're not financed.
So there we go.
It's so sad.
We have the structures are there, the systems are actually there that can work. This constitution that was built in was A1. It's not 100%, but it's close to 85. It has a lot of good things in there. We have refused to unlock its potential because we are still in the old school mentality, big man syndrome. What is in it for me? What can I eat? How can I build my profile? Not how can we move this country forward? How can we progress it? So that's the big challenge that we have. And it's a mindset that needs to change from the young people because they're the ones who are the leaders. We used to be told we're the leaders of tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow came and passed.
So so you are saying in this podcast that the leaders of tomorrow is just a mirage.
This is
because honestly, if you are like 10 years, you can choose to be selfless and start leading at that level.
Yes.
By the time you're 20, and I think this actually also applies in tech, whereby you start harnessing these skills at that young age. By the time you're 20, you are an expert in what you do.
Yeah.
The same way that I think even we should stop this analogy of you are the leaders of tomorrow, because it's a true lie.
It is.
Yeah, it is something that you can believe, but it will never happen.
It will never happen.
Because even people in their 40s, they are told, you're too young.
Yeah.
You should be.
You still have a few more years.
Yes, you need more experience.
Wait a minute.
Which actually never comes because dynamics change over time.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think? And of course, you said this, that one of the aspects that we can address is the education, but to an extent where we are, we need more than education because, of course, there's a bigger problem that is awaiting us. And I think we can see the impact right now. I used to tell some of my friends before COVID that, the restrictions, the lockdown and everything looks okay to address the problem right now. But we're going to pay for this for the next 10 years. And you can see it, not only in Kenya, but tech companies in US are laying off people. En masse, like 30% of workforce, you're told, you know what? The job that you used to do, we can't be able to pay you for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, here is the severance, see you. And that's going to happen for the next maybe, 8 years, 9 years to come.
Yeah.
What do you think we can do right now? Because you have to pay the price. We have no other option. You have to pay the price of maybe, 50 years since independence. Because I have seen, going through the histories, it's not something that just happened the last, government, with the last government. And I think Kibaki tried to address it in a way, all credits given. He tried to do it because when he said, at least the least educated person should be a class 8.
Yeah.
That actually addressed a lot of things.
Yes.
Because at least now someone can write, can speak, can understand. And that actually moves you from point A to B. Right now, as we sit here, and someone can correct me, I don't know of any free education. Someone can correct me maybe in the comment or whatever.
Yeah.
If you go to school and you don't pay anything in country known as Kenya, I want to know you. I want to know where that is. Because I don't know. Either you are paying, 500 shillings for these.
Yeah.
500 for that.
Yeah.
In one or the other, there's some payments around it.
Yeah.
And they call it logistics. But at the end of the day, it's money.
It's money.
And 500, some people even right now, is a lot of money.
Yeah.
There are people who get maybe 3,000 a whole month's salary. Someone has 2-3 kids. You can imagine if they can afford those kids. And it's really hard. So what do you think we can, or how do you think we can address some of these issues?
Look, I think there's, I don't want to be a defeatist, but there's a portion, there's a part of some generations that I believe there's nothing that can change for them. And it's done. I mean,
so you have just to wait until they
50, 60, 70 years. You are not going to change those people. You see? And they're the ones who are the owners of capital.
It's hard to
guys
teach. Is it? What do they say? It's
old
very
dog.
hard to. Yeah, new tricks.
Dog new tricks. Yes, but the challenge we have is when you look at even what do they produce? Those people, even not just the productivity for like resources, but in their own homes. What kind of children, for example, do they produce? Are you seeing like there's any shift between somebody and the child? Is the child any better than the parent and all? So it has to start from that family level. If we have found a way to live within our means, we are told, okay, so there's no sugar. Okay, so we're going to, I mean, many times, as you say, I came from a political family, but there were many times we drank black tea without sugar. We ate bread without blue band. There were times we didn't eat bread.
The white bread?
Yes. There were times we didn't even have the bread. There were times we walked to school. I remember during these Saba things, and we were walking because there was no transportation. But then we understood that we are trying to live within our means, our means for this period, because it's the discipline of now so that you avoid the regret of later. But then if we cannot do that on the family level, we can't do it on a national level. So if in the families we're not keeping...
Paul, with all respect, you are eating ugali for breakfast and some sugarless tea.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, 5 billion has disappeared. And here are the suspects.
Yeah.
It beats the logic, So, like what I've been thinking, if, for instance, we need to restore patriotism, where we say, you know what, the mistake has happened, and if at all you can rectify it because you already know in your heart that you did this, and actually it is hurting people. And there's no point of just you alone winning and becoming, either the richest person or the most influential person across the country, and other people are suffering. And here it goes down even to the health sector. Why don't we say, from today, henceforth, this is not going to happen again? And I'll give you a good example. I don't know if it's the best example, but I'll give you a good example.
Yeah.
Paul Kagame in Rwanda. Yes. The other day we were there and we were talking with some of the guys there. Some of those podcasts will be released.
Yes.
He said that 28 years ago.
Yes.
28 years ago, you go to Rwanda today, you might call him dictator if you want.
See the difference.
You can call him names that you want, but the guy is committed. And he means what he says, and he says what he means. The information is all over the internet.
Yeah.
You can go and check for yourself. But when you land in Rwanda, it's a small country.
Yeah.
No debate about that.
Yes.
But can't we even have that small place that we say this is a safe haven for people who actually want to live, the right way. And start from there going upwards? Because, of course, this is not something that we can address within a year or within 10 years that any president is there. But if we start now, there is better future for all of us. Because what I see actually happening, to be honest with you, is like those who stole, those who are corrupt, those who are, practicing nepotism, those who are just going to run for office just to steal, there will be nothing to steal.
No, that's true. And that's what I was telling you. I have a feeling that there's a certain generation that is gone. That one, that's what I was saying. We can't change those ones.
Yeah.
However, there's the people who now, I don't want to use that analogy of leaders of tomorrow, but the actual people, the real vibrant society, which is 35 and below. The challenge we're having is that what have they learned from their elders? Who are their role models? What is it that they can do? If your relative, your uncle, your father gets away with something, and comes and celebrates with you, and you're happy with it, and even, you're bragging all over the place, hey, you bought new cars and all these things. What is going to get you off that path?
Of course,
nothing. You see, so the challenge is that what is being handed down to these fellows? Who are their role models? When you hear somebody saying their role model is like a former governor of Bling Bling who had all the money in the world and all these chase cars and everything, that's the life that somebody is aspiring to. And they also say they didn't even go to school. You see, the other challenge we're having is that this thing we're having about of education being big, we are crashing it with what we are doing on a daily basis by saying you don't need a I was shocked that you don't need a degree to be a cabinet minister. I didn't know that. Until
okay.
we were doing vetting the other day.
But I think
you don't need a degree.
Who was fired because they didn't even finish primary school. It was the guy. He's from Western. Echesa. Yes.
It was because of corruption. It was other things that were happening. It wasn't because of his paperwork.
The paperwork came afterwards.
No, it was nothing to do with paperwork.
Okay.
We have MPs who've gone to class 6.
Yeah.
So when you go and tell somebody, you need to go to school, you need to get
what
education, they're asking
about?
you, why? You got your education. When I compare you, these are the guy who never went to school. This guy is a governor now.
Yeah.
So what are you telling me? So you see, we are defeating ourselves. Our nationalism is hurting from our own activities, actions as a nation. If you could hold that up and say, look, I mean, you remember, for all his good and bad things, Mishuki, whatever it is that he decided to do, he did it across board and said, look, from today, safety first. It doesn't matter if this matatu transport is owned by a policeman, they will buy seatbelts and fix.
Yes.
They will put speed governors. We abided. We abided.
Yeah.
Nobody killed anyone because of that thing. We just woke up and we started aligning.
Yes.
Same thing that you're saying, Kagame did. He said, certain things, certain tenets we have to live by as a nation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. He went as far as when donors would bring money for projects, he would tell them 40-50% usually goes back to you because you bring your cars, you bring your project managers. We don't want. If you're bringing with those strings attached, stay with your money.
Yeah.
And they aligned.
Yes.
And now the money started doing work.
Yes.
In Kenya, we are still in that place where you're talking about. We're going to raise this 1 billion or whatever it is for hunger. How much of that is going to get to the
80%?
Yes. Why? Because we have guys there who are, rent seekers, busybodies in there, middlemen. Oh, yeah, I'm the one who brought the load. Yeah, the fuel, the what. All the money goes in there. Whereas the person who's actually starving remains starving. They don't get as much as they could have gotten. So if you get to that point where you can crash those ideals, make sure that the right ones are in place. We had a national creed. We had a loyalty pledge. We had social ethics during our time. I have no idea if any of these things are still there anymore. You see, and so what is there to reference for a child who's in school?
Yeah.
When you say, hey, you need to go to school. Why?
Why? Well,
Because is a challenge for you and I. How are you answering the because? Because when you go to school, what? Then? We can't answer that. That is the challenge that parenting is now experiencing. How are you answering and addressing that? Whereas the neighbor who nobody knows what this parent does, father or mother, but they have the big cars, they have the kids themselves don't know what the parents do. They don't know what the father does. But they live a very lavish lifestyle. When this child is growing up, he can't understand what you're saying about going to school and all. My father doesn't look like he went to even doesn't have a degree or whatever it is. But he's ranking. Yours is a professor. But the fellow, he doesn't even have a car. So we're having a challenge with the role modeling that we have created as a nation, not even as a family level. Now, the other area of growth and where we were getting self-salvation was what? The church. The church was leading in bringing up people, morals and all. Now, suddenly, we are also a conduit. Yeah, I can't remember the last time anybody from a church or we used to have the NCCKs. We had the Alexander Muges of this world. We had all Dingimana. The people who would stand and they had the moral attitude to stand and speak. Where you sit and say, hey, on this issue of taxation, on this issue of corruption, on this, they would have a platform. When is the last time you ever had anybody from the church speak about anything?
It just boils down to the offerings.
This is the challenge we have. So if they are already partakers, it's the water that comes from outside that sinks the boat. Now, how are they going to sanitize this boat and dry it when it's still taking in the water from outside? So that is the big challenge. And when the kids, you say, go to church, even in the church, someone is half because this fellow last night was given some money. So he can't even speak with the light, with the salt that he's actually supposed to speak with. So it is down to now the parent. Now we're back to parents. And that's why I'm saying for the parents, if we are too busy chasing around doing things out there, we are not doing anything for the kids. We are then setting them up for a worse situation than ours where we are in right now. Because they will now grow up saying, in any case, what is church? Corruption, but corruption has been normalized. You can go to jail and be released the next day. It's not a big deal. We're in that kind of society. So I think there's still a chance. I'm not saying it's a hopeless situation because now the world is a global village. And we are seeing a lot of the countries, a lot of areas that are growing is because people are applying deep thinking. They are applying intellectual knowledge. They are getting real substance and content that they can utilize to build their lives. Not these things of just copy-pasting and saying, my neighbor did, I'm also going to do. I mean, it's a very bad example to use, but you set up tomorrow
an M-Pesa shop.
Yes, I was going to say a salon or a barber shop out here. There's no competition. the whole region, everybody will be coming to your shop. They will be coming to your salon and doing all these things.
Within 3 months.
Within which 3 months? Within 1 month, another fellow will come. Instead of him setting up a shop that can send combs and oils and wigs,
cosmetics,
he will set up another salon like yours. Because
exactly,
you have
giving
set up
same service.
the traffic already. You've created the goodwill in the area. The market is ready. Now, where you are getting 100, you're getting 50. He also gets his 50.
Another month.
He thinks he's happy.
Yeah.
Another month, a third fellow comes.
Yeah.
Says, this guy seems to be making money. Okay, borrows money from somewhere, comes and sets up another one. Now there's 3 of you. So that's the challenge we're having.
And
as
that's
a
a
nation.
very good example you have given, because I'm thinking about it even in the tech ecosystem right now.
Yeah.
Fintech has become a very huge startup investment vehicle for different countries across Africa.
Yeah.
And right now, you cannot count how many fintech companies we have in place in a span of 3-4 years that have come up, because they hear that, Flutterwave got an investment.
Yes.
A company XYZ got
$10
an
million.
investment. You're like, this is it. I'm
That's the life.
gonna build this fintech.
That's
And
the
I think that's a mentality that actually we should actually shun from, because there is so much that we can do. Even I'm thinking about, if you sank the well that we're talking about in a few minutes gone, in Northeastern,
Yes.
it's a big business.
Yes.
If you think about it, if you figure out drainage, right now with the dry season, the whole Nairobi is smelling, because the sewage system is not working.
Yes.
If you do this, actually, how many towns can you duplicate this? Mombasa, there's Nakuru, there's Kisumu. No one is thinking about that. If you think about garbage, and I'm not talking about the ones that the people go to the estates collecting, and charging tenants for that. I'm talking about making the city clean.
Yeah.
And you have a contract with the county government and say, you know what, enough of garbage collection, and you employ some people to do the work every day. We could get way ahead and create so many jobs.
Yes.
But we are not ready to do it. And for what reason? I don't know.
No, because in mental, it is hard work. Yeah. I told you about the path of least resistance. If you give me option A and B, and B is easy, I will go with B. Even if A will take me further, I will go with B. Because that's where the mind says, quickly, let's make this thing work. I don't know who was giving the analogy about I had a hard life. No, my grandfather had a hard life. I have a softer life. My father has an okay life. Me, I have a very soft life. My kids are most likely going to have a medium soft life. Their children will have a hard life. Their children's children will have a terrible life. And then the cycle repeats.
So they say, this is the way they say it. They say good times create
Bad people?
There's the name they use, and then the bad times create. No, good times create bad men, and bad times create good men.
Something like that.
And then it becomes a cycle if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't know if, again, this is a good example. When you look at Israel and how it works, Israel is always way ahead of the curve, because they can't afford the luxury of iteration of different handovers. And even when you meet them in different places, because they travel a lot, that's one of the things that Israelites do. You will see always they articulating, like, what solution can I offer?
Yes,
how can
every day.
Every day. They go back after every 2 years because it's a whole community.
Yes.
And this is the point I want to drive it to. Like Africa, we have an opportunity to recreate and correct and learn from these other continents' mistake. Because for us, at least you have a community. As long as much as we have these borders and everything, when Africans meet, by the way, you never know if this is a Kenyan, this is whatever.
Yeah, we are one.
We look the same. Yes. We think the same. We love maybe even food the same way. We eat the same. There are a couple of similarities that we share. True. So we can actually, with education, of course, we can actually leapfrog from where we are right now, which is at the bottom of the pyramid, and at the bottom of the food chain, and build something that actually the world can learn from the way we educate our people, the way we manage our issues, the way we even manage the resources, because there's so much resources that actually we have in Africa, and even the way we grow economically, infrastructure, socially, in everything, in every aspect, and just to like bring you back now to the parenting. About your dad, was he a disciplinarian, or how did he?
So
bring a fine man like you.
I think I'm getting you where you're
and
heading with the question.
I'll define the fine man here.
I know you're heading with the question, but so my dad was lucky that in the 50s, while he was growing up, because he was very bright in class, he got a scholarship from the, I don't know if it still exists, Quakers. Yeah, that's Friends International. So the Quakers were a very big movement in the UK at that time.
I've ever heard of the
I think
program.
they're
Back in 90s, were they there?
Yes, I think they're there even now. There's some churches are still operational.
Okay.
Friends International. Yeah. So the global church is called the Quakers. So they came, they set up a church somewhere in our home county, and they identified some young people, and he stood out because he was, he was a sharp guy. So they picked him and said, okay, sent him to the UK. So he was in Bristol, I think, 6 years. He was a bachelor's plus a master's. By the time he came back, he was a teacher. Came back, he was ready.
High school or primary?
He was a high school teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, Kisii High School, taught in Upper Hill, a few other schools.
Yeah.
When he came back now, he was promoted to become a lecturer. So he was a dean of students, Kenyatta University, for many years, about 4 years. At some point along the way, the villagers just came and said, look, man, this is a waste of talent, waste of resources. What is this you're doing? Teaching. We are here suffering. We need people representation. And there were very powerful politicians at that time. Very powerful. I can name some names. Yeah, there was a gentleman called Burudi Nabwera. There was another man
Which
called,
constituency was this?
That time it was called Lurambi North. Now it is 4 constituencies.
Okay.
It was split into like Malava, Lugari, Kuyani. Yeah, there are 4 constituencies from
So
the one.
the chief read
that he was
all
running.
those 4
Yes. So I'll tell you,
diligently.
the government is closer to us now. Anyway, long and short is he went up against the likes of Moses Mudavadi. That's Mudavadi's dad, who was like the kingpin in Western. So he fought some serious battles.
Yeah.
In that aspect of exposure, because of having gone to the UK and then come back and lived with communities across, teachers are posted anywhere. Lived with all the communities across Kenya. He understood how tribes live and why this tribe thing is a fallacy. However, he also understood that it's not always about the threats, about the beatings and all. It is, what example do you show for people to pick up from you and say, I want to be like so-and-so. So for us, for my whole life, I was never caned by my dad. My mom caned me almost daily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mom.
I would be damned. One of them has to be doing the discipline part of things.
So my mom had to carry that bit. But it is because all she needed to say was that I'm going to tell your dad. And you see, because I held him in such high regard, I felt so bad to let him down. Like I've done something wrong that needs to come to his attention. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. So that was enough.
Yeah.
And because of that, I wouldn't say he was, having been a teacher and being trained to teach, he knew how to deal with children. Having learned how to deal with children and to that level of expertise, of course he would know what to do with adults. So I think we had a good balance about authoritarianism and just being meek enough or modest enough to allow for free thought within the area. And what do you want to be? I want to be this, that, the other.
Yeah.
For information, when he went to the UK, he wanted to be a lawyer. His father told him, lawyers are liars. They take people's money. They cheat. Even when you're guilty, you can go and somebody will go and, put up a case for you and they will win the case, even if you killed. Now, I have nothing against lawyers. They do a fantastic job. But it stuck so strongly in my
But a lot of that is true.
that he refused. He didn't take up law. Yet, he had a great chance to be a brilliant lawyer.
Yeah.
And he says, even later in life, he said, no, I could still have it. I don't have a problem. It's just that I took my dad's word so seriously and I saw his logic in terms of, for sure, if you have a case and you've killed someone, you need a lawyer. Imagine the lawyer gets you off the hook. What happens? What does the family of the person you killed think? Lawyers are bad and all this. So it created a bit of a poison in our minds as children. Like, this law thing, much as it is very, very necessary.
So no lawyer in your family?
No, we don't have lawyers. We don't have lawyers. because of that. Because we're like, it could mean for him to survive, to do a good job, they have to get you off the hook.
Yes.
Whether you're guilty or not. I mean, that's what happens.
Yes.
And
That's their job.
rightfully, that's what the law says. Come and argue your case. Forget about what can you prove. That's all that matters.
Beyond reasonable
What
doubt.
can you prove? If the other fellow can't prove that you actually killed him, no death occurred. Life goes on. Because where's the body? Where's the weapon? Where's all these things?
Yeah.
So I think we learned from that. But to answer your question, he was very open in terms of allowing free speech, free thought, so that you get to the level where you're required to be and what support do you need.
Yeah.
So we got into trouble doing all sorts of things, inventing, trying to innovate and all that. But it was good trouble because it's like, even lying takes a lot of intelligence.
True.
It's usually to say that if you don't have a child that lies, your child is a bit dumb. Once in a while they need to lie. When they are growing up, they need to have some, because otherwise they can't think out of a situation.
Yeah.
They'll always be stuck and say, this is what happened. And then those ones, there's obviously other roles. They can be priests and all. But in life, you have to find a way that you can survive. Not to be a liar, but to be understanding what is the best way to get myself out of a difficult situation lawfully. So he allowed us to be free thinkers and be able to just, execute on our skills and talents to the best of our abilities. But when I come back to just thinking through the way what you are raising in terms of Africa as a continent, you see, much as you're saying we are bottom of pyramid, you see, there's a big drive around even just this fintech space. But it's because even the likes of M-Pesa and all these new age things that we've founded, a lot of them are not even in those first one. I mean, the other day, one of my brothers is in the US and he married somebody from Canada. He cannot send money from the US to Canada.
He has to
go and deposit it in a bank.
then
Then the bank needs to have a branch in Canada that they can go and withdraw that money. Today, I'm not talking about used to be.
Yes.
This is the current situation. And we are here sending money to people in South Africa, in Nigeria, in all these places. So we tech is the leverage for
just
leapfrogging.
through your phone.
Yes, it is the leverage for leapfrogging so that we don't have to make the same mistakes these fellows made. We don't have to take 300 years to get to where the US is. We don't. But then what we have...
So my dream is valid.
It is valid. What is holding your dream back is leadership. Yes, because the US had all these years to make mistakes with their leaders and they had the resources to burn with those leaders. We don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
We do not have enough.
Everyone is
bandwidth,
depending
experiments.
on Africa.
Yeah, we can't.
Everyone,
So
literally.
50 years is enough time for us to still be dying of hunger. 50 years is enough. Yeah, there's got to be a time when you wake up and say, look, going forward,
No
this is
one
what is
is
going to
going-
happen. Yes. If we're not on that level, for me, if my auntie or my mother is unwell and she's, maybe she's in Nairobi, she's been going to hospital in Kakamega, she has to carry her X-rays and all these other things from Kakamega to Nairobi to go to Kenyatta Hospital and present them there.
Yeah.
Because Kenyatta Hospital has no way of telling what treatment has she been receiving in Kakamega.
Yes.
None, no way.
And take an
That's a
action
basic
support
thing.
that. Yeah.
That's a basic thing.
Yeah.
When you go and say, okay, these seeds, there's a challenge around the soil. We've been planting maize all over these years. Now the maize has been going from 14 bags to 12 bags to 10. Now we're on 6 bags. Tech can tell you that soil is depleted. We need to figure out a way to replenish it. What can we do? For all times, they used old school ways, just leave the land fallow. Even the Bible usually says, 7 years and all these things. We don't have that time anymore. But it can tell you, instead of now planting maize, let's do beans. Even when we're in school, we used to do science and agriculture. We'll be told, when you plant maize, the next season, plant beans, plant. It was very basic. Now, nobody wants to think that way because it's too much work to flip from the maize to the beans to the whatever. And yet, it's what is returning the nutrients into the ground.
Yes.
So if we start doing the basics right, a lot of these other things will come together.
Yes.
But so long as we are beholden and slaves of politicians,
Yeah.
it's going to be a difficult ride for us to get to where we need to get to. That's my only challenge. I wish we could get to the point where, like the US, they say, even if they get a monkey as a president, and I'm not saying they have gotten monkeys in the past, even if they don't get a monkey, life goes on.
Yes.
It doesn't
Nevertheless,
affect their day-to-day.
Yeah.
We can't afford
because they
that.
have set enough systems
In place. People will not die because so-and-so is president or this party is out of power. Look at Britain. They flip these things the way we flip burgers.
within
Every 2
within
months,
days.
there's another leader. Life goes on. Okay, fine. There are some, glitches here and there because of policies, poor policies that have been implemented, that are affecting revenues and pensions and things like those, incomes, inflation. But by and large, life goes on. Society moves on.
Yeah.
We have to get to that point as Africans. We have to get to the point where politics is not the center of our lives.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it means when you're trying to innovate something, you have to start worrying, is somebody from
Who
KRA
do I
going
align?
going to come and bust me before this thing is ready. We've had so many stories of guys who've come back with brilliant ideas to Kenya. They've set up industries and they've been hounded out of those industries because of taxes and compliance and things. And the guys who are hounding cannot even run a kiosk.
True.
But they are killing this guy who has come with an enterprise that is, going to employ over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
That's the sad bit. There's too much
Backward
government in our lives.
mentality.
Yes, too much government. Just stay away. Let me do my thing. Let me grow my people. At some point when the revenues are good, you can come and start taxing.
Yes.
Even when the seed is still in the ground.
It's like you have a toddler and then you start asking her or him for rent.
Yes.
And they have not even started walking.
Where are they even getting? There's no means. So you're stepping the seed when it's still in the ground.
Yeah. Now they say each person with an ID should get a care.
Now we are bereft of ideas.
Yeah.
Then that's the problem. But the challenge also is that we are still thinking old ways, old school.
But do you
We're
think
not thinking new stuff?
Do you think becoming rich also does something to your mind? You like stop reasoning or thinking?
We alluded to it when we were beginning, when you were talking about why do people change when they get to certain environments. The truth of the matter is wealth should not change a person. If you're a small-minded person...
It just amplifies who you are.
Yes. If you're a small-minded person with poor money habits, even when you get a lot of money, you still have the poor money habit. We know people who are wealthy tycoons, but within a year or two of dying, the family is bankrupt.
Yes.
Yeah, because you don't know there were loans. You don't know, when you say the grass is green, you don't know what it is. It could be dead bodies under there that are rotting to make the grass green. You have no idea. But you want to say, hey, I want my grass to be green like so and so. That guy has been killing people and they are under there. They're fertilizing his grass.
Yes.
Be careful. So I think it just shows that the wealth shouldn't really change a person. They actually, as you say, amplifies that core that you have, your heart skill. What is your heart skill? What is your what is in your heart? It comes out louder depending on poverty or wealth. Yeah. When it is small with poverty, even the guys who are poor, they share. They give each other. They support
Actually,
each
they're
other.
the most kindest people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those fellows, when they grow and they become bigger, it's because they associate with the wrong people. They get into the crowds where the other wealthy fellows who have already tainted that society, now they stick in there and start trying to be like them. So that's the challenge. But if these people would remain in their own communities with their wealth, they would never change. They would never become that.
Because all of them now, they're in Nairobi.
Yeah,
all of them. Now they have houses in all these poshy places.
Yes.
And the ones, I don't know, the ones who retired still remain in Nairobi or what happens, but all of them are here, regardless of where they were voted. And they just go there to visit.
Yeah.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because the parliament is here, but
I don't know.
Nevertheless, you should be able to commute because you have all the luxury of the cars, you're given some allowance. So what you're saying actually can be done. And Kenya is not that huge. There's nowhere you can't get within 24 hours if you want.
And if you started, by the way, if you told me, like the way you're talking about hospitals and having these challenges, the way, for example, Kagame has done and enforced so many things, like at one day he woke up and said, no more French.
Yeah.
People have to be taught Swahili. And we had all these teachers migrating from Kenya to go and teach in Rwanda.
Yeah.
And they built.
Yeah.
And then they improved the public schools so much that private schools just closed on their own. They were not told to close.
Yeah.
They just closed because no business.
No business. Yeah.
So the same way, if you go and say, if you're coming from Kakamega County, you're the MP or the governor, the only way your NHIF and your education or whatever works is if you procure those services from your county. That means what? If your children are going to Kakamega Primary School, you have to improve the facilities in Kakamega Primary School so that your kids can go there. Yeah. If you want to go to hospital, you're going to Kakamega General Hospital. You have to improve the facilities in Kakamega because that's where your mother, your sisters, your relatives are going to.
Yeah.
But if it is open the way it is, 3/4 of these fellows, when they are sick, they are all here in Nairobi. They don't care about those local hospitals.
And sometimes maybe they go abroad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if you force them and say, we're only going to pay as taxpayers, if your child is going to the local school there, if you're going to the hospital there, if you go outside of those boundaries, that is on you. That is your personal bill. Maybe such a law would be passed. You would see how facilities would improve in 5 years because your grandfather gets sick once, twice, and he can only go to the local hospital. You will improve that local hospital, and everybody else will benefit. When they say, okay, now you're living in that area because we are giving you a house and we are building it for you in the county, that's the only house that is free. If you come to Nairobi, you pay rent like anyone else, and it's not from our money. Then they will stick there and they'll start improving the houses, they'll start improving the building codes, they'll start improving the roads, water supply, and all these things. Yeah. But if 3/4 of the time, like the guys in Northeastern, they all live here in Nairobi. When you're talking about hunger, the guy is here talking about hunger, but he's busy feasting. This is in Isili or whatever it is. What is the resonance? Then you want me from Eldoret or whatever to fundraise for that fellow. And I know the guy sits in Nairobi.
Yeah.
How are we helping his county?
doesn't
yet?
make sense.
All the money is being burnt in Nairobi. So
Yeah.
I think there's some things we can do. We have put our standards so low that it is ridiculous that we are even existing as a nation. Because, I mean, the things that pass as law, you sit and you ask yourself, I mean, this is the best that we can do.
Yeah.
The other day we saw, and I'm not critiquing anyone, but we have these 45, 50 million people. We went and picked 22 of the best of these 50 million. That is what we are showcasing to the world. That's our cabinet. The best. Because you see, as president, you have leeway to pick anyone. Anyone. Those are the best ones we could get. Now, if those are the standards, I'm having a problem telling my child, look, go to school, get this degree, go out, expose yourself. They're like, no, this is not the society I want to live in. And it is no wonder when these techies come and they get opportunities, they are in, let's say, Safaricom, and they are doing a good job. They are creating stuff. And then Google comes or Microsoft, and they go and they are moved with 3 times the pay, for example. But they are going to do a fraction of what they were doing in Safaricom. In fact, many times they are idle. As in, their brains are not really activated. They are doing things that are repetitive. They are very mundane tasks. But they're being paid a good salary. They sit there. Of course, part of least resistance, what happens? The cells that you would have been using to drive growth and innovation, they die out because they're not being utilized. And then you get to new people.
Is this what is happening?
Yeah. That's how the brain drain is happening from likes of Safaricom, KCB, and moving into now. Because when they're going there, the work rate is nothing compared to what they do in Safaricom. There is paradise, man. It's good life. Understandably, they've earned it because they have the skills. But can this guy do his 9 to 5 there?
Did you just say paradise? Now I'm interested.
Can he do his 9 to 5 at that place and then 5 to 9 do something for the community to build himself, to innovate, to create something? That's what I've always been challenging the guys who I come across in this startup environment. Fine. Work in as many of these organizations as you can because you need to get best standards. You need to understand how the world works, how systems work. Work in these big companies. Get that knowledge. Then go and set up something using that knowledge that helps other people also. Not to go there and you're just forever. You just want to be a guy who waits for end month. Create something. Be a creator as well. So that you build the society for people to have that ambition to say, we can do better. Otherwise, we'll just wait to be picked off. First, we had the doctors. There was the migration. They all left. Then we had nurses, another drive. They all left. Now we are on the techies. Yeah, they are all exiting. And
they are leaving.
I mean, so can you blame them?
Doubt.
You can't blame them. You can't blame them because when they say, okay, you'll be charged 15% tax, it is 15% tax wherever they go. You'll be charged 20%. When you go, the train comes at 10 o'clock. The train comes at 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see where your tax goes.
Yes. Here we are gambling. We are gamblers. National gamblers.
And the security is not insured.
There's no guarantee.
Yes.
I mean, you could leave. Who knows? When you leave in the morning, are you going to get home?
I can't blame anyone who is leaving. Actually, I would encourage them.
That's the challenge. So I can't blame them. And then now, when haphazardly wake up and say, okay, now we're going to increase this tax and the other tax, and even the little one that you are collecting, we don't know where it was going. Now you want to increase it 3-4 times. Where is it going to go? So we're in those painful, and our guys who are coming up, the youth, they don't care. They don't give two hoots about nationalism and patriotism and all these things. Where is the money? Yes, we'll chase it. Is this what I want to do? Yes. This thing where I used to say people do 1, 2, 3, 5 years of work in one employer. Nowadays you're lucky if you get to 3 years. You're very lucky.
True.
And I cannot blame anyone. I mean, I think the opportunities arise. Life is short, as they say, even if it's the longest thing you'll ever do. They move. They get to the next thing, they move and move and move. So the only pain or complaint I would have is when they are not looking back and pulling others up. And looking back and pulling others up is creating stuff which other people can utilize to grow to the next level. To the level where we can say, okay, let's get even a national system that can automate county functions. I can look at the budget for Narok and tell how much has been spent this quarter, what is left, what are the projects of priority, what is the governor going to do next year, what is his priority around water, then we can plan around and say, yes, let me come with an idea that can help this guy in Narok because I can see he has a problem with water. As it is, everything is, sorry to use the word, opaque. You can't tell what is where.
The opaque nature of things.
So how are you going to help? You can't even
0.01 errors.
You cannot apply any of your skills to help anyone.
Chief. I like how you think, and of course, as you said, we will go chronologically so that we can understand. And even if there is a young guy who will listen to us or will watch us, they can understand even what they are doing right now. They're on the right track, and even because by and large, I believe there is one fundamental problem, and it's actually caused by only one problem, which is corruption.
Yeah.
And that's why even someone looks up and says, why would I work hard and I can just become an MP or become a governor and, my life is sorted. And this problem is mindset.
Yes.
Because number one, our schools, even the way they are right now, they're designed to brainwash us to think the same way. Can you imagine 40 million educated, 40, that's like a pathetical,
Yeah, 40
that
million.
if we had 40 million educated people, they educated the same way
Yes.
to compete for the same opportunities and actually to like even do things the same way, for lack of better definition. So if we're able to change the mindset, then we can address some of the issues very easily. Because now people, and I tend to think how CBC is like designed.
Yes.
It is not perfect, but it is a way of like getting people to do things by themselves and also to explore what they can do and what they can't. So if we change mindset, and that actually happens from you learning from other people, and I believe more on apprenticeship, where you learn by doing, where you learn by looking and doing.
Yeah.
And that's why I like when our guests share their journey, as opposed to like say, I was so and so, I opened this, I'm an entrepreneur. And by the way, this is something interesting. Very few Kenyan billionaires, you'll sit with them down and they tell you chronologically how they did it.
Yes.
To even getting the first billion.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because now there's nothing to learn from those people. You only know they are rich. Of course, you can see from what they are doing.
Yes.
And also you associate richness or wealthiness with wrong things. Because someone has a car, you think they are very wealthy. Because someone maybe lives in a posh area, you think they are very wealthy.
Yes.
And as you said something very important. A billionaire dies and you are like, there were loans. So all this life was just synthetic.
Yes.
Right? So if we change mindset and say, you know what? If you're living in your place, you can afford to have a meal. Maybe you have a family. You can afford to educate your children. It's okay. You don't need to swing for the fences for you to think that you're okay. And some of these things actually you can acquire them, but also you can use them to even enable you or your family to get to a better place.
Yeah.
So that said, I think where we escalated this conversation was the primary school, right? So we'll just fast track maybe the primary school, but if there's anything important that you think you should share for someone who is in primary school that actually you learned a lot, and I'll ask one single question around that. I know you did the 7 subjects.
Yeah.
7
What's it
subjects.
called? That one. The old
Yes,
KCP.
yes. I did 5, so
You are slightly better.
I just transitioned when people are doing.
Yeah.
Is it 5? Now even I can't remember.
There's been so many changes you can't track.
In 2002, there, so that's
they might have reduced
5.
that to
Yeah.
5.
Now
They
even
combined some.
now they have brought them back. I remember I used to do art and craft, which was really amazing. I was a good artist.
Yes.
But after they changed, I was like,
You have to.
why do I need to draw? You understand? But now I see like how you can even transform those kind of talents to sciences.
Yes.
When you come to doing the architecture,
Yes.
come to doing UI, UX, graphic design. There's so much application besides just becoming someone who draws people's faces. Like I see nowadays on the internet, there are people who actually are doing that business. It's so sad. I'm not saying it's a bad business, but it's so sad because it's not scalable. If you're not doing it, there's no one else who can do it. Essentially. So mine was, and you can answer according to what you think is important. Like me, I like asking a very simple question. How are you able to pass your exam to get to, is it called Liboni? You are Liboni.
Yeah,
Lenana,
Liboni,
right?
yes. Lenana, yes.
So how are you able to hack the KCP? Because I know it, as much as it was a multiple choice, it is not that directly easy.
Yes.
So how are you able to like do a study plan, and be able to pass that? Or if your dad pulled the string, which most leaders do, but according to what you described with your dad, I don't think he's the kind of a guy who would do that.
Yeah.
But if he did that, don't share around it.
We'll talk
Say he
about
did it.
Yes.
Because also I know Liboni back in the day was a Liboni. If you become a Lenana guy, it was much respect. I don't know about now, but you can share that experience.
Yeah. So I think For me, what saved me in primary school was I was an avid reader. So just read.
So you read all the books?
Yes, and that would mean we read newspapers. We were lucky those days. You know, newspapers were still affordable.
Yeah.
Now you have to think.
To a child of an MP.
To put it that way. But I was not always a child.
Let me
of an MP,
give you the context. Me, I saw newspapers in some restaurants where we went to eat.
That is also applicable. You can imagine if the guy who worked in that restaurant, the only failure he has is if he never used to read that. Because imagine the owner has probably bought it to read, and maybe they never read it. So as you say, opportunities come. They don't always tell you, I am an opportunity. But me, I was lucky because, number one, those newspapers. But two, I went to a school that had a library. So that was very good. And that's something that, primary school.
Hey, you are privileged.
It was very rare.
I agree with you.
And it's not far. It's just, Lavington Primary.
Of course.
That's a library.
Of course.
So,
of course. What
but
do
I
you
was
expect?
living in Ofafa Jericho at that time. So I used to commute across with a bus number 50 that would come all the way, one bus to Lavington and back to Ofafa Jericho. So Jerusalem, we went through that life. But anyway, long and short is, I used to read as much as I could.
Let me make some context here. So for those who are living in Ofafa Jericho, the Ofafa Jericho you are living right now is not the Ofafa Jericho Paul is talking about. That was like a Lavington back then.
It was a good place.
And then I think Lavington then was a new estate.
It wasn't even built up.
It was just another place.
Mostly bushy. So most of this area was owned
it still is. Most of the people bought the land. We are in Lavington right now. The people who bought land here did not cut the indigenous
This
trees.
is 30, maybe 20, 30 years old. Most of the area here. Even the buildings. So this whole area was just open ground, owned by one guy at that time called, I think it was Ole Tip Tip. So, and I know
he has a relationship with the other Ole Tip Tip?
Was the original Ole Tip Tip.
So the other one is the son?
Tips, yes. John Keynes, they held land in trust and they had a lot of education.
Were they Maasais?
Yes, they were Maasais.
So it's true what they say about Nairobi.
Nairobi was Maasai land. So how
that's new information.
How that shifted?
I thought it's just
no, it's actually. I mean, it's during our generation. It's not something that happened. Before it's during our generation that this shift happened. All this Lavington Cave, all these areas. This was bush. We used to play in this hole. It was just open ground. So anyway, how those shifted? That's historians to tell you. So I would read anything and everything I could find. That was the first. Secondly, because my dad was up and down. It meant that I needed to communicate. You see, I would go home, like on a Tuesday, he's still in Parliament. I've come home, I had my dinner, I've slept. Comes in the night, and he leaves again at 6 a.m. or 5. I'm not awake yet. By the time I wake up, he's gone. But I can tell he was around because he's come, he has changed shoes, he's changed clothes and all. So he slept here.
There's a newspaper somewhere.
Yes, there's a newspaper. Even if it's for yesterday.
Yes.
Like that. So every day. Then I realized I can't sit up and wait for this fellow. It's too late and I can't wake up very early to catch him. So he devised what? A communication system. Which was what? Writing notes. So I had to write a letter. Dear Dad,
so you started writing at
at class 2.
Okay.
Expressing myself and saying how school was and what I need.
Okay.
And then he would come home. Those would be one of the things I know. When I look back, I would say as a parent, I would look forward to such. I've been written for a note by my child. And he would come and he would respond on the backside. Hey, school was this. Parliament was this. We discussed this, the other. I don't know what he's talking about. But at least he's communicating.
It's interesting.
Because I kept some of those notes. Then he says down there, okay, so let me look
Until
for some
today,
money.
you have the notes?
I still have some of them, yes.
Amazing.
I look for some of these, the money that you've asked for. Let's see what we can do by tomorrow. When I come in the evening, I flip, I find his writing. I'm like, man, I read that. I just feel good. This guy, we have communicated. We've connected, even if I haven't seen him. Then we go the next day like that. On Wednesday, he comes now. He leaves a note and he has folded the money in the note that I had written.
Chief,
so when I just find
very amazing life.
I'm like, man, I've made it this week. So I get the money, I do that, and you move on.
So he never sent someone to do your mom? Or
no.
It was just a man to
never
man.
sent. It was
direct.
Now,
that's amazing.
2 things happened because of that. Sometimes he would write a note in Swahili. Now, I know this is personal for us, so I can't give somebody else to read for me this note.
You never knew Swahili? Or?
So I had to now step up my Swahili. Because
your Swahili was not that
it wasn't all that, but now if he's writing in Swahili, you see, he had been to Makerere, he had been to Dar es Salaam University as well, lecturing there. So he had some very good Swahili. I'm like, even I have to learn how to speak this Swahili. So I now not just learn to speak, but I had to write it. So I learned that. So because of that, I was forced to be good in Swahili and English. Remember, he had been to the UK. So I can't write broken English because the guy will underline like a teacher. He was a teacher.
Okay.
He'll underline.
So even there's some learning that is going on.
He's marking my notes. So if he's doing that, by the time we've done 3 months, man, my writing is on another level. There was never, I remember I got Swahili and English, both in primary school and high school. I got straight A's.
Nice.
Swahili and English. Because of just that keenness of, and then you'd come and say, okay, now he brought Nation yesterday, today he has brought Taifa Leo.
Taifa Leo, yeah.
Now I'm wondering, this is our oldest paper in Swahili.
And by the way, interestingly, people don't know this, and I think it's good to mention that Taifa Leo writes good Swahili. I don't know if they do that nowadays, but I used to read a lot of Taifa Leo. As much as it's not that detailed as the Nation or maybe Standard Group, Standard newspaper that writes in English, but it wrote good Swahili pieces.
And you
that
see,
could learn from.
Swahili doesn't have many stories.
Yes.
If you're stating facts, you're stating facts. English, is flowery. You can add things and all. Okay. That's why the Swahili newspaper was very thin.
Okay.
But you read the story, when you look at the translation in English, the English one has taken 2 pages.
Okay.
This thing is half a page. It has said what needs to be said.
Yeah.
Now he converted, now he just used to write in Swahili. Now I have to figure out words in Swahili. If I'm asking for something, books, what is books? I figure out what is pen, what is ink, what is fountain pen, things which...
Instead you ask for
I had to start figuring them
things?
out. Yes. So the point I'm trying to make is that because there was a drive from communicating with my dad, I never had a worry about my language.
So it created curiosity in you over time.
My language. Then because I used to bring things for reading, again, I read a lot. Now, if you're reading well, you already have an advantage.
Yes.
Because remember, everybody else is trying to first understand the language before they understand the subject.
Yeah.
You are going straight to the subject. So if it is science, you're reading science in English. You're not trying to convert first the thinking into English, then you read the science. You see. And that's one of the challenges I think we are told people like in Tanzania had that challenge for a long time because everything was in Swahili. They now started going into higher...
They still do.
Now,
but they're doing well.
They are doing... Yes. Tanzania is going to beat us if we're not careful. GDP.
No, this is what I believe that you mentioned Tanzania. Tanzania, when they will rise up, it's like a community rising up. As opposed to... us, we're just different tribes.
That's the thing. See, for them, they have this one big sea or ocean and boats in it. As everybody has their own small ocean and swimming pool. So here, this other one, if you just raise the tide for the ocean, all the boats
capsize.
Just by swimming pool that I'll raise. It's just for me. This is the challenge that we have. Anyway, that's beside the point. So
no, it's very, very important because now we are Africans.
Yes. So and we have to understand that. I mean, I'm amazed. It's off topic, but last year Tanzania had 122% food production. Basically, they produced surplus of their requirements. We could not feed ourselves. We imported 60%, I think, of our food. That tells you something. A nation that cannot feed itself, how are you going to grow? How are you going to develop? What are you talking about? New age stuff, and you're dying of hunger. This is the problem.
I think also same with Ethiopia or something.
Yes. Those guys. Anyway, that's too big a topic right now. But ideally, having learned to then read, now read anything. Now, if you find it's a science book, I'll read the science book. I find it's a math, I read the math. So suddenly now I'm picking up a lot of small things here and there. And then the other thing is that I was involved in all the extracurricular activities. All of them. If it is football, I'll be there. If it is running, I'll be there. So the mind would also find a place to break from this monotony of reading, and just go and do and excel there as well. So the advice would be for people who are in especially primary school, if you can find the time, I know it is hard, find the time, build up on your skills for reading, especially language. Just build up, read as much as you can. You will find you're reading across all subjects, and you'll find that you're appreciating different concepts, and you're starting to ask yourself questions about what did they mean when they say, this is a millipede, this is a centipede. You try and question things in your mind. That way, you create a creative, experiential thought process. Always querying things. But if you're always just taking things as they are, because you see, the teaching level is for down, imparting, taking things as they are. So, and that's one of the worries we usually have about education, especially in Kenya. At least now CBC might change that, because we all thought education is a vessel to be filled. You open your brain when you go in the morning, the teacher puts things, you close in the evening, you go home.
Until the exam comes.
Yes. It is actually a fire to be ignited. The teacher's responsibility is to light that flame. They just need to figure out how to light it. That's it. Once they light it.
That's a very important point you have put across. Can you please repeat it?
Once you light it, it's not...
The education?
It's not a vessel to be filled. It is a fire to be ignited. Because you want to be everywhere to feel all the heads every time.
Yes.
But if you light the fire once, this
just-
fellow is going to keep the fire burning by himself.
Yes.
He
And they
will
can
find
spread
a
it.
way.
They
Yes.
can spread it, yeah.
They will find a way. In the same way we say you can't prepare the world for your child. You can only prepare your child for the world.
Yes.
So you can't go building roads where your child will pass. But you can create in them the ability to maneuver across any road.
Yes, yes.
Because that's an easier task to do. So the same way with education. Once you realize that all you need is to be shown the direction, this is the way it's going. Beyond there, having seen this is the way, you can do what you want to do.
Yes.
Based on the ability you've been infused in. But if you're waiting to be told, and for a long time it was always, the teacher has said, the teacher, nobody would query back and ask things and say.
True.
So it kind of limited our abilities. When you look at the way people like, Japanese and all do their stuff, it's always querying, checking, finding out. Somebody does something different, they're like, whoa, this is amazing. Here, if you did something different, you get whipped
punished.
into line.
Get
You see?
punished,
Yes.
yeah.
So you realize, okay, this thing can't work. The other thing my dad did was to allow me to be good in the things that I was good in and not to struggle too much with the things that I wasn't good in. Now, what does this mean? We had 8 subjects. Were they 8? I think there were 8.
They were 8 actually, not even 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's only that during the examination,
We examined
the
7.
religion
yes.
was put with history and
Yes.
and
Yes, they
geography.
combined them in
Yeah,
there.
but
So
there were 8,
out of those 7, he realized I was good in the sciences and the arts. What was I poor in? I think I was poor in 2 things. Trying to remember. I think it was home science. Must have been home science. I came to be better in home science later in adult life. In the
Even
sense
home
of
science
cooking.
actually was part of that.
Yes.
GSCR.
Yes. Yes. So that time, because it wasn't a survival desire, I didn't want to know how to cook things. So they tell us, bake this, bake. I bring funny things and I will always fail that class.
Yeah.
Go and knit booties and I don't know what tacking stitch and back stitch. They were just struggles for me. Later in life, I realized. I repair
Knit a
my
petticoat.
I repair my daughter's clothes.
Yeah.
They bring, say, hey, daddy knows how to sew, not the mom. Me.
Okay.
Daddy, because now I learned this was a life skill, man. I need to improve on this thing. When I realized when I was now a bachelor,
Yeah.
I can't keep tearing things and buying others.
Yeah,
I'm going to repair.
doesn't make sense,
So I bought knitting wool and all that. So I would repair. I repair my stuff. Even
Using
kids-
your hands or
Yes,
the
I
machine?
don't have a machine
Okay.
with my hands. I remembered my skills in primary school,
Nice,
which I
yes.
was poor in.
Yes.
Anyway, he realized this home science thing is not for my son. So he said, look, instead of me beating you to go and improve on home science, I want to celebrate you to improve on your maths and your English, where I was already on 80s.
Yes.
Continue doing that.
Yeah.
This other one, man, the chips will fall where they fall.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
So I just kept, and that's one of the challenges that parents have. If you have a child who's poor in some areas, we want to make them focus in those poor areas to improve them.
Yeah.
But it is always at the expense of the things that they are good at. Now they start reducing their exposure and their experience in maths, English, Swahili, because they are struggling to pull up history,
Yeah.
geography, and things
Yeah.
which they are weak in.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what happens? They become average because the 80 drops to 65, 70. The 40,
pull the-
fine, moves up to 55, 60, but at the expense of the 80.
Yeah.
Now they are a 60 average child. They
Yeah.
don't stand out for anything.
Yeah.
They just drift through life.
True.
If you let this fellow continue with his maths at 80, 85, 90, one day somebody will tell him, you don't need these other things, man. This maths will take you where you need to go. Because
Yes,
you're always equipped with the things that we require
The
to be
expertise.
to survive in life. Yes. So that's what helped me. If you can just master the things you're good at, if you can identify them early in life, people see what you're doing or whatever, even in primary school, and you're like, okay, I can do this. Now start equipping yourself around that area because that is your salvation.
Yeah.
That is your key.
Yeah.
We all are told, we are all given locks and we figure out which key is mine, the one I want to open it. So if you figure out that the sciences are yours,
Yeah.
focus on that. Yeah, people will complain, hey, your Kiswahili is poor, oh, suji, what? Yeah, it is, man. I can't be everything.
Yeah.
There are a few who are geniuses, they are in everything. But that's why there are few. It's not everyone.
Yeah.
The rest of us, what we are good at, let's scale it. Let's get better at it.
Yeah.
Let's not try and be making nuclear submarines and we are here fighting hunger. Let's figure out irrigation first. Then we can try and get the nuclear stuff going.
Yes.
The guys in the US have figured out the food and the nuclear as well. Good for them. Yeah? As we're not yet there. So that's the challenge we have when we're in primary school, being beaten to be better in some subjects which you're struggling with.
Yeah.
And you start losing out on the subjects that you're good at.
Yeah.
So that would be my parting shot for primary school.
Yes.
Just let expose yourself to as many of the subjects as possible. Pick the ones that are good at and try and focus on that. But don't let go of your reading skills.
Reading is very important because now improves on comprehension, understanding,
and
articulating
all the subjects, which you're going to need so much when you're in upper primary, high school and the other levels.
Yeah.
Because if you can understand something, you can figure out things.
Yeah.
If you can't understand, you're already at such a disadvantage with everyone else.
Yes.
So that's the big plus I would give for primary school.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And now you do your KCP and then...
Yes. So,
you do
to come back to your
pass?
question, I expected to pass because I was in the top 5 of the school, I think from like class 5.
Yeah.
I think I was index 5.
Okay.
So I knew for sure I have to get into a national school. So I never had any doubts about the guy can buy me a slot, and he was never going to. Yeah. My brothers, for information, I think there's only one other who went to a national school, went to Moi Forces. Everybody else, they were given to the schools where they fell as grades, even if he was an MP. Yeah? And they were not bad schools. I want to say, St. Peter's, Mumias, Kamsinga. Those days, Kamsinga was still a bit struggling. Now it's doing very well. It wasn't that, now that he's going to bring you into Nairobi school or whatever. No. This is the level that you've reached, right?
Yeah.
This is what you deserve. And he puts you in the school. Yeah. Go figure it out in there. You'll realize, okay, had I just done slightly better? So my advantage was I saw how they were treated because they were older than me. I saw,
were you the last born by any chance?
That time, no. We were many, so I was 6.
That time? I was
6
out
out
of
of 8.
Put it. Yeah, okay.
But at that time, I was the last one.
Okay.
So when I figured out, I was last until class 4. Then 2 others came.
Okay.
When I figured out that it is out of my output that I will take myself where I want to go, and now started concentrating on getting the right grade. So I asked, okay, what do I need for Alliance? I was told a certain grade. I said, this one is going to affect my lifestyle because I have to cut football and I couldn't sacrifice some things. I have to stop playing football. I have to stop. I said, that Alliance is good, but it's going to, I can't. So I said, what else can I aim for? Nairobi school, and I said Lenana because I started playing rugby in primary school. I was like, it's a school that,
Lenana is good.
Yeah, it's good.
Before Nairobi school became very...
Those days. Yeah, there was a competition around Nairobi school and Lenana. Those are the rivals. Now they are nowhere. None of them is anywhere. Now it's Jamhuri, Upper Hill. I think Vihiga I saw the other day winning the national rugby. I'm like, times have changed. The sport wasn't even played in Western.
Let me ask you this before you get away from this. You didn't play rugby in primary school?
Primary school, I played a bit. I think in class 7.
Maybe I can ask maybe in a different way. What do you think? I never played sport in my life. The closest I came to sport was basketball, and I have my reasons.
I would imagine.
I had my reason. So how much do you think sport contributed to you focusing, to you becoming, that brilliant, or even also
holistic? Okay. Where I think the importance is, there's 2 parts. One is just the fitness, being active. We want kids to be active. And for us, the struggle was, in fact, it was a flip of what is happening now. We spend too much time in the field, would have pulled into the houses. Now we are chasing the kids out of the houses because they're stuck on gadgets and devices, and they don't see the need for the sports and outdoor. So for me, the first thing was just to be active and fit. And I was like, those days there weren't too many lifestyle issues, diseases and all. So you could still enjoy life just in the house. But there was no life in the house. Nobody was in the house. Everybody was outside. So I wanted to be out there. Play from morning till evening. You don't even have lunch.
TV was not a big thing.
No, it wasn't, because it used to be like 6 hours. Opens at 6 and closes, I think, at midnight or something like that. So we were okay with, don't even have to sit and watch TV. For information, we never had a TV in the house.
That's what I meant. Like, I can imagine the 90s TV was not a big
we never had a TV. Even if he could afford to buy a TV, he never bought a TV. The TV he bought was when I finished high school. The first time we owned a TV. And it never changed my life. It never wasn't a big deal for me because there were so many other things we were doing. We had to develop skills, communication skills, networking, talking with people. Now we are struggling with those skills because we are too much in gadgets. We are here with you and I text you and say, how are you doing? I can't speak to you. I can't walk up to you and say, people decide, let's go out in the restaurant for a meal, and everybody's on their devices. So the parents have decided today we will just want to connect with the kids. The kids are all on devices. They are in the restaurant waiting for a meal. So it's very sad. Anyway, sports is important in that first aspect for activity. Secondly, is just to build that bonding aspect and the teamwork. Because there's some sports, much as I could dribble in football, there was no way I was going to dribble 11 people.
True.
I dribble 3, 4, and then I get tackled. Yeah. So you learn to work with people, depend on other people as well.
Yeah.
And just how do you get people to do things that they probably don't want to do?
The influence part
really,
of things.
Yes. Nobody really wanted to be like a goalie. But then you sell the narrative. If you're the goalie, you can see what's going on. In fact, you chill. You just watch the game.
Even become the coach. You can tell as well.
Yes. But then this guy is going to get all the hot shots. But you don't want to tell him that one. So you convince him about, the way it will be a joy. In fact, we will keep the
pros
guys,
of everything.
Yes, we'll keep the ball up there. They won't come this way when you're playing
until
those guys turn the tables and they start attacking.
Yeah.
Then he's getting shots left, right. By then, he's already in the groove. He's not going to come out. He'll be like, no, I committed to my team.
I'm an expert here.
We're going to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
So it helped to then at the end of the match, it's like, I would never have, on my own, would never have picked to be a goalkeeper, but you guys convinced me. So that's another aspect of sports. Just having that ability to pull people together towards a common cause, even if that common cause has no
tangible,
monetary. Yes, there's no monetary value. How about just do something for fun?
Yeah,
it's a very good aspect to have mentally. Like there's some things you could just do. There's no benefit from it.
True.
If you can have that kind of a mentality, that's not that everything is about money and revenues and getting something back. How about just give of yourself?
True.
Yeah, sports helps in that. Right? People get injured fighting. I mean, we have guys who've run for this country. They played football. They got crippled and
people die doing the sport.
I didn't want to go to die, but yes, to that level. And yet there are others who would not lift a finger. They'd rather sit and figure out routes to siphon money. So and those are the ones we celebrate and say they are our heroes. The guys who did the good stuff, the big things. They are just wasted somewhere, and we wait for them to die, then we celebrate them, put them in big books and put them on the newspaper, send money to the widows. I mean, it's sad. But anyway, to answer your question, that was what sports did for me. And then I realized that I built a bit of a fame around it. So by the time even I was applying to high school, when you say, I do this, I play this, I do what, they were like, we want this guy. When I was being admitted to school and they look at the things you've shown as your interest, certain people, house masters will come and say, no, we want that one. This guy seems like he's good in this. Let's bring him to our house. So
there was some competitive advantage to have
it gave me a bit of that competitive advantage. Nice. So that's what I would say was helpful for me in terms of sports.
How was your first day at Lenana?
You
meet all these people from all over the country.
For information, the guy who so I was dropped. My dad didn't have time to take me to school that day, unfortunately. I think he was out of the country. So I was taken by my mom. It was still okay. And everybody's pleasant and happy, and you can see, there's joy and things are looking very nice.
Lenana, bro.
Very good. The hall is clean. Then you finish, and then you get your trunk out. Then they open the trunk, and they find all these funny, illegal things, biscuits. I don't know. These ones can't go. They're telling my mom, no, I don't need this. Then they remove all the things which are like junk and all. Then I said, how much money? He says, I think she's giving me like maybe 400 shillings. They're like, no. 100 shillings is enough for the term. 100 shillings. Like, wow. They give 100. They don't even give it to me. They give to the house master. 100. And then they call the house prefect to come and help me to the house. And who was a house prefect? I was lucky that, I got inducted into people who I had ambitions from a long time ago. There's a guy called Omar Hassan, who was vying for
the Mombasa governor.
Yes. That was my house prefect, the one who came to pick my box. It was like, so we started talking, how are things, whatever. In the 10 minutes that walked from the hall to the house, he had given me a rundown of the school, what to expect and all these things. And don't worry, we'll be together. And very smooth, very good guy. Then I get to the house, and then people are not around. Of course, they're in class. And then I think at 4:00, everybody just descends to the house. That the first day, that was the last time I saw of all my belongings in the trunk. That was the last time I saw them.
It was that bad?
It was bad. It was crazy.
The shirts, the new clothes, everything.
Comes, these are new things. Then they don't even ask you to open. A guy stepped in the middle of the trunk. It's a metallic trunk.
I don't know if they call it. They used to call it that way. They used to say butterfly.
Yes.
They made it open itself.
Yes. They don't use a key. They just pick the things from the side. And now we are equal. Everybody's the same level. There's nobody who has anything new and all. And like, hey, I don't have a shirt. A guy throws for you some old shirt he has been putting on for 3 years.
You can't walk, nigga.
No. So I learned right from the beginning, this life is how you maneuver, how you survive.
And this is the real world now.
It's the real world. Hey, your folks are gone. The parents, whatever, they've gone. Now
everyone wants to take what you have. And I think that's how even out here everyone is operating.
So you have to just take care of your things. This thing of crying, now you want to start calling people from home. We didn't even have cell phones.
How do you start?
There was no call box.
Yeah.
And you can write a letter, yes, but you should take a week and a half
Yeah.
to get to where it's going. So who are you going to tell?
Yeah.
You
And
go
how
to the
many
teacher?
times will you do this?
Yes.
Because if you come with the new ones, the
Again.
process is the same.
Yes. So you find your level. Basically, you find your level and realize, okay, I have people here. These are colleagues of mine from ones. We can survive together. Start making friendships in day one because you have to survive. There's a guy of giving an alarm when the fourth formers are coming. He sees them, he whistles or gives some, like monkeys do. Quickly, and we know what needs to happen, guys. Those who for hiding will hide under the beds. The other guys, you learn tactics. You start again remembering how to pull people together, teamwork for a worthy cause. We are now together defending. So high school was very rough in getting in. And because I also had come from a bit of a sheltered background, because life had been
a privilege.
Yeah, life had been a bit okay. Then I realized, I'm not going to start writing to this fellow who used to read my notes, telling him the way school is bad. There's no way I was going to start telling him. That's why I said, I'll survive through this thing. So 2-3 weeks, 1 month, I think 2 months. By the time the second month was done, I was okay. I was like,
So that's the monetization that you got, or?
Well, that's just a tip of it. It was worse. There were many other things.
What was the worst?
There were, wow. there were many. Let me try and see which one was the worst of them. That one was bad because they stripped me of everything that I had right at the beginning. So now I was starting from zero. But then the money disappeared.
The 100 bob.
Yes, the 100 bob disappeared. So I never had any way of surviving. And people are, they have to buy bread to supplement food and everything.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
Yes.
Yeah. I tried to speak English there. People start looking at me like, this one. This is a foreign fellow. Yeah.
What kind of English is
Because
this?
you're trying to speak good English. Everybody else is speaking local, colloquial, broken English. Yeah. So I'm wondering, my colleagues.
Yeah.
Because you see, national school, people are from all over the place.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah. So like now you start being described, that guy who pretends to speak fluent
and
English.
for a guy, sometimes speaking English,
Now it becomes a
it
liability.
looks foreign.
It becomes a liability. So I went back into my Swahili, which was still fine. But then I had to call, you're given, people have come from training for rugby, you're given the shoe, the boot is removed when it is stinking. So I call your mom, explain to her why you're starving in school. A guy wakes you up at 2 a.m. They've come from studying. Those are fourth formers.
Yeah.
Tells you, gives you a bag, paper bag, tells you, go and pack for me 4 darknesses from out there and take to the other house on the other side.
Yeah.
The house is, the school is 287 acres.
Yeah.
One house is on that end. The other house is about 15 minutes walk at 2 a.m. in your short and some vest and slippers. You don't even know which house. Then you get to the other house, you realize, whoa, these are set up because those guys have also just come to the house after reading. So you meet with the house prefect, whoever it is. Tells you, in fact, I was told, I'm getting some help. We need to flood this room. Now you start washing the rooms at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. It was terrible because those are not things that I had expected of a national school.
You thought these are intellectuals.
What
Cream de la cream from the country.
What madness is this?
Yeah.
So it's almost 30 years ago. So there were many terrible experiences. But I remember those ones because they were highlighted right from the good thing about our mental minds.
Yeah.
They grasp onto the good things tighter than the bad things.
Yeah.
Especially if the bad things are not too traumatic. They release them. Because the mind doesn't have time to keep holding on to negatives. Unless you decide yourself, you want to record the negative things and keep reading them over and over and entrenching them in your mind. Otherwise, the human mind has a way of just filtering out the negatives and leaving you with the pleasant memories. So I had, by the end of first form, I had made friends across. I think word went around. I was happy that my dad didn't drop me because it would have caused a fiasco. Because they are seeing the car, GKs and all, it would have been an issue. Now that they came to realize much later because of the name, and then I think this guy Hassan went and told guys in his class, we have some serious guys in my
prominent.
house. Now that caused chaos because
sibling.
suddenly people are coming, they are bringing you stuff, they want to carry favor. So I started getting a few privileges.
Were there guys from your village?
Yes,
school?
there were a few who I realized later that my dad had actually helped to join the school. So that was helpful.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was helpful because they were like, your dad was the one who did this. The other one tells you, my dad works with your dad. I don't know what. So there was a good. Now I was imagining in my head, if he was an evil guy, I would really have suffered.
You would have paid for it dearly.
I tell you, your dad is one who frustrates my dad at work. It would have been quite crazy. But they were like, helpful guy. He helps things. So it calm me, bring you. You're starving. He has bread. They get me bread. The other guys start asking me, "Hey, Kwani, what have you done to these guys?" I'm like, "Me, I've not done anything. I don't have anything. They stripped me of everything."
Yes.
But they're like, okay, at least they understood.
Yeah.
The only downside, and which was a risk, was I got so sucked up into that life that I found myself now with the guys of drugs. Guys are there, weed. There was a supply of all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Now, the trick was, if they can get me into that,
You're good.
I'm a
You're
supplier.
hooked.
Yeah, because I have the means to keep getting them these things. And
Did you use drugs?
sadly, I lived that life for at least 1 year, the first form. I was in that life for
You are a customer.
going across the boundaries. Got to drink some illicit brews and all these things for the whole of first form, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit crazy. And at that time, I think also my dad was so busy, so he didn't really notice what was going on. Yeah. But my mom was, at that time, had moved back to upcountry. She was now heading towards retiring. So she also didn't know. But I was in boarding school. And me, I'm thinking these are what big people do.
Yes,
I'm a grown up now.
Teenager now. You're trying to become
find my space in the world. So that was a transition.
Yeah. So you go there. Is your interest in science still the same, or?
Yes. At that time, as I began, of course, I knew the languages. I would never have a challenge or a worry there. But I also picked up mostly biology. Because I was interested in, I actually wanted to become a doctor. So I felt that I had the heart to give, to help, to do all these things. And I thought I had some good brain on me as well. So I said,
why do I feel like this one will end in a funny way?
I want to be a doctor.
The reality.
So, yes. So anyway, what changed everything was that slip up in Form 1. Because, as you know, in high school, Form 1 is mostly definitions and things. For all there were like 15 subjects.
Yes.
And then for us in Form 2, you cut them down to like 10, I think. You dropped 5.
Yeah.
And then Form 3 now you specialized in, I think, 7 or something. 8, I can't remember.
Yeah.
So in Form 1, definitions and all, that was all we used to do. And I
missed
realized
all of that.
these ones I don't even need to read much. I know these things, man. See, I was in the top percentile. I think the 10 percentile of admission. I was in that top cream.
Across the country, or just
in the school? No, in Lanana. So I knew,
you're
this
good.
one is,
I'm a
no
genius.
worry here, man. Can do my thing. So I'll catch up. I know what I'm doing. Hey, no, that life was crazy. By the time I get into second form, now I'm so deeply ingrained in these mad, crazy things that guys are doing, breaking bounds every other day, doing stuff that by the time I'm trying to recover now to start getting into proper schoolwork, was in like Form 2, second term. I don't have my notes in the whole of Form 1.
What?
So I don't have anything I'm building on. Now they are moving on to the next step.
So there is no time to give you a break to catch up.
No, because things are moving.
Yeah.
Now I had to start trying to put in double. By the time I was realizing, how far I was, it was actually my mom who pointed out and he said, "Hey, your dad has been seeing the grades. You joined. You are number 25 out of 225. Second term, you are number 40. Third term, you are number 90. Okay, that's Form 1 has ended. Form 2 first term, I already had breached 200. I was number 200.
So 90 is not the worst case scenario here.
No.
I thought 90 is...
No. Form 2, second term, I was at 210 out of 235. That's 235 across the whole stream. Yes, I was 210.
What?
My mom is like, what this guy has said? He has this farm and things and cattle at home.
There's a lot of
Can't
work for
understand
you.
why we are spending all this money. And those days it was, I think fees was like 25,000 a term. It wasn't small money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, early 90s wasn't small money.
Yeah.
Instead of wasting this money, he could buy 2 cows with that money and you go and take care of the cows.
Yes, and become a...
And things will be
Why
okay.
should we take another cow to school?
Let's go. There we go. Anyway, so I realized she was serious because she told me everyone else has given up. They've said, it's not worth it. You've chosen this path. It is just me who is here. Now, it's between you and I. And when you're doing...
The cabinet has sat down.
Yes.
They have decided...
This is unsustainable.
She was really a diplomatic person.
Yeah, she was. She was also a teacher, so she was very good. But she told me,
no wonder.
Every time kids do well, they are kids of the father. Every time kids fail in life, they are kids of the mother.
Yeah.
Especially if it is a house that has both parents. The father takes credit for the good stuff. The mother is dumped on the bad stuff. Yeah. Mtoto wa mama, the one who has failed is the child of the mother. Told me, now we are stuck, you and I. Yeah, it's just the two of us. Because these are the fellows, which much as they were in poorer schools, they've done well in life and they have moved on. Now it is just you and me. And you've been told.
And I cannot be taking your blames.
No, that it is, you are mine. So it's true you're my child, but we can't be being referenced like this. So out of my love for her, because she stood out for me, I changed and said, no, I have to improve.
This needs to change.
Yeah, I have to improve. I have to do something about my schoolwork. So now I started doing extra. I would go writing my notes afresh, getting books from people. That whole of second term, two, try and now get all my stuff in order. I was still getting my E's in, biology and things. I was like, man,
but things were not adding up.
This dream of mine, because now I don't have the notes. I have gaps. So,
and you could not borrow this from your colleagues?
No, because sometimes you can't see the writing. The writing for high school kids, man, you can't read the other guy's writing. So I have to look for my own way. So I get the books, I try and start reading, go to the library, spend time. Now I have to invest. That discipline that I had released, I had to now bring it back, get it back and take the pain, the immediate pain for the future benefit.
Yeah.
So I struggled through that. By the time we're getting into second form, end of second term, I think I had gotten to like midpoint. So I was now back to about 180. So I've gotten about 30 people that I have beaten. Okay, that's good. I'm improving now.
Yeah.
I'm not bottom from 30. Those ones used to always be called to the principal every beginning of the term. If you are anyone from 200 to down there, you just go and receive free canes just because you're in that section. Yeah. But that was the way to
just
lift.
for fun.
Yeah, not fun. You've qualified. You've qualified for the cane, so you go.
What about the top 10 or top?
No, those ones nobody used to talk about. They would always be rewarded anyway.
Okay.
So then I now started changing the friends, people I was hanging out with, because high school, the biggest danger, even in boarding school, is just people, the crowd you keep. Yeah. If you keep the wrong guys, by the time you realize
you have
it's
the wrong results.
So far, they usually say, 2 cabbages don't make a piece of meat. So if you're together there,
that's a new information.
You're killing each other, saying, I'm better than this guy, but he's also a cabbage.
Do you think that's also where we are as African countries? We always compare ourselves with the cabbages.
Yeah. They usually say, we are giants among dwarfs. Yeah, you're the tallest dwarf. They say, hey, Kenya is doing well, but who are we measuring against? We're measuring against Uganda. And that's not to talk badly,
No,
against Tanzania, against Uganda.
No. Yeah? Of course, Uganda is not doing well.
That's the truth.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest, So if we were to come out and say, look, this is not our peer. We released or lost our peers with the Singapores of this world, the Koreas of this world. They took our blueprint and they went and did amazing things, which means the intellectual, we have it. It's the execution that is the problem.
Yeah,
we have all the brilliant ideas, but we just can't find a way.
Yeah, even for the case of Uganda, to bring context, is that if despite it's only that they have enough food.
They're self-sufficient. They're not starving.
Not that they don't have smart people, but the system put in place, it's really, really hard even to implement that brilliant mind in Uganda.
Yeah. I mean, the freedom is not there.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about our situation, the way we are in a bad place, but the truth is, man, I can stand out here and start shouting mad things. Nobody will arrest me.
For sure.
Yeah, so long as I'm not breaking the law, nobody will arrest me. We can decide tomorrow we're going to march to Parliament. We just inform the Central Police guys and we march there. We state our views and we go back home. Uganda, man, we might not leave our house, man.
Even a watchman has a gun.
Yeah, so, and it's part of the security system.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So now you can. Your guess is as good as mine.
So yes, having realized that indeed the guys I was hanging around were pulling me down, so I had to now shift a bit. Thankfully, the guys who had influenced me were mostly the fourth formers in Form 1 had left. So now I got some respite. Got a few people who pulled me and said, "Hey, man, for the pride that your dad has done and all these things, man, this is not right. Yeah, you need to get back on track." So I got back on track.
Yeah.
By the time I'm getting into third form, I think I had reformed to the extent where now my dad was like, let the guy do another term. We see how things are. He even came
before we
visited.
buy the cows.
Yes. He even came and visited. He had never visited me in school. He came to visit me in third term.
Yeah.
Ever since I joined Form 1, he had never come. Because by the time he wanted to come like in second term or third term, I was doing so badly, he didn't want to be associated
with these.
He can come guys in the bottom of the class.
What do they call it?
What am I coming to see here? So, but my mom came every time. As I tell you, those failures are the mothers. So she came every time. Yes, look, man.
Look, as I told you, man, it's just us.
Save the face.
She saved my life, truth be told. On that aspect for school, she saved my life. Because after that, now, after
Is she still there?
No, she passed on last year.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway.
Paul son.
So, yeah, those things. Life.
No, mom, they never cease to be moms.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Till you can, even at 40, she'll pitch
Yes,
what are you doing?
yes.
Yeah.
Fathers, when we grow up, we can talk man to man.
That's
But
the point.
mothers will still be having that.
There's a respect level.
Yes.
And then there's an awe, especially, not to talk negatively in gender-wise, but especially for boys. Yeah, mothers are special.
Yes.
They are, if you really want to crush a man,
Play with their mother.
play with the mother. Yeah, especially if they, the mother is alive. When they're not there, it's not too big a deal. But if they've grown up all along and the mother has been there, the father, he will even help you to beat up the father. But the mother. Anyway, so we went through that.
Yeah.
He came and visited. Told me, I've had good things, Mama has been telling me. So all this time when I would go home on holiday, he would be very busy. So we would never get to talk. He never wanted to associate at all with me. So I went back to writing letters.
Yeah.
So now I'm in high school, so I write 4 full
Communication,
scaps.
yeah.
4 full scaps, both sides. Narrating everything. Then he answers with 1 paragraph. Just 1 paragraph. Went to school to learn, supposed to do this, that, the other. I think you're still far off from those ideals. The day that you get back on track there, I know we can have a good conversation. And he leaves it there. So I can't ask for money even for shopping. I can't give you one, but So now I had to go through proxy. My mom, hey man, now
things are not good.
So she'll channel from what my brothers are being bought for. She puts some aside. Don't tell me that. Don't tell him that you got anything. Just say you went the way you are. So it would be like that till that time in third form. And he came and we sat down and we had an adult conversation. I asked,
what do you want?
Yeah. This life is yours. Whatever you want to make of it, make. As we are there to support. You want to be a farmer? I'll support. The only thing I can't support is breaking the law. So you can't be like a thug. You can't be a drug dealer. Things that are breaking the law, you can't. But if you tell me you want to be a tout, I will look for money. We buy a matatu. You want to be
things that are making sense.
Whatever your heart
don't have
wants.
to struggle here with this.
This thing is not for everyone. Told me. Education is not for everyone.
And at the back of his mind, he knows these guys are brilliant guys just playing around.
He knew. Then he gives me examples of guys, from the village, so and so. Even him,
he's doing well. He has a plot.
Yes.
He's married. He's
the one
set
who's
up.
bringing us. He has
By the
3
time you
children.
finish here,
Don't worry.
you'll be way ahead.
You can also do the same. And at least you have good education. You can be speaking English for people there. I looked at
And in this conversation, you didn't burst into laugh.
No, I couldn't
You're
laugh.
like,
It was very
this is
serious. By the way,
serious
it was serious. So I could see.
But right
this
now,
guy is
you
not
think
joking.
about it, like,
I laugh.
These are true conversations.
But it was one of those life-changing conversations. And sometimes you just need somebody to steer you back. So 2 things, to steer you back, and another one who believes in you.
Yeah.
Even when you don't believe in yourself. Because my mom believed in me.
So are you saying that having 2 parents actually brings the balance, proper balance in someone's life?
People, when you're growing up, truth be told, people from the full families, they have an advantage.
Yeah,
that's just the way of life. They have an advantage because they are pulling off from 2 sources. Yeah. So where you can have maybe a single perspective where it's only a mother, she can only give as much as a light can shine. And the other guy, the father, even him, his torch only goes in a certain direction.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he can see.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah.
When you have both of them, the mother is seeing wide beam, the father is seeing narrow beam, straight tunnel vision.
Yeah.
When you combine the 2, you go much farther.
Yeah.
So if you have none, it's even now harder.
Yeah.
Because now you're depending on other people's lights. And sometimes these guys, where they are going, where they're actually pointing their torch, is into darkness. It's the wrong place. But then they are the only people you have. This is the only light you can see. So you move on with it until the day when you're in a place where you can actually gauge and say, this is not the direction I want to go. So I still profess that it helps when both parents are there. If there are such homes, they have an advantage. That is not to say they will be perfect.
Yes.
And that is not to say people who come from broken or non-parent families will not do well. Sometimes they actually do much better because they are forced to embrace their Goliath much earlier.
Yeah.
And there's something about embracing your Goliath earlier in life you set yourself on a trajectory, the David trajectory. You know where your smooth stones are, you know where your sling is, you know how to swing it. The rest of these fellows start realizing, where do I get the stones? Late in life, because that's when they've been exposed to now, okay, there you go, leave my house, go and make a life for yourself.
When they're tall enough.
They're like, man, where do I start? You're starting when the other fellow has been doing this for like 30 years. So you see, there's always that advantage. However, there's also the balance where, while this guy is, the father is picking the 5 stones for himself, he shows the son or the daughter. This is where you get the stones. You see, you'll still have an advantage over the other guy who had to go discover his own stones and how to swing for himself. Half the time before he swings, he's hit himself twice or thrice, because that thing you have to have mastery. If you don't swing it properly, you can actually commit suicide.
It's not like a gun where you point and shoot.
You swing like this, it comes back straight at you. Then the guy's like, are you swinging or are you killing yourself? What happened? And now you have a parent who is swinging for you, because they are embracing the Goliath on your behalf and showing you. Now you start building the strength and the muscles early enough. So I would always say, I can never advocate for, broken families, that's the way to go. I know new age nowadays, yes, we're saying anything goes, but that's not the ideal. The ideal is that if you can get the ideal situation, please thrive in it.
It's hard, but you should be able to.
You should. If you don't have it, don't kill yourself because it's not ideal. No, don't lie there on the ground saying, now you see, so and so has, because they have a father and a nonsense. Nonsense. There are a lot of people who've done so well in life. They were orphans from a very early age. They never even knew their parents, and they are thriving. There are others who have been babied up to age 60. And they are a mess. I mean, I can name names, not here, where they were given everything. And they kept looking up to this father. And he kept providing. Till he left. When he left, then they're like, hey, oops.
Where do I start?
At 60. Now you're starting to fight about inheritance and things. At 60, you never ever did anything for yourself. So that's the challenge. It's the difference. But if you get somebody who gives you the balance, you're better off.
So you did your KCSE. Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education.
Yes.
And you performed really well.
It wasn't really well. I did very well in my non-sciences. So first, the doctor dream died in third form. When I realized, for me to excel to go onwards to be a doctor, I need to have both. I need to have all 3 sciences.
Yes, and perform really well.
Physics, chemistry, and biology. I had already dropped physics. In Form 2. Through advice from the guys who are perpetually high.
the peer pressure.
Yes. So they told me, no.
Don't need
physics? Something like that. By the time I was realizing it, this is third form, there was no way I could rescue. So by extension also, the chemistry also started wavering. So I was left with only biology. I was like, okay, this probably won't work. But I said, anyway, we'll make good. So first was called to uni, but I was called for education. I remember I was called to KU to do education. Coincidentally, one of my brothers had been to KU for education. My dad had been a dean of students, KU. So it's like, this is okay. Oh, the amazing thing is that he was shocked that I passed. He was shocked beyond, because from third form, he always knew, this one will just go through and we just finish school and see what else he can do. When the grades came out, he actually bought me a card. And he had never bought anybody a card in the family for doing an exam.
What was that?
My dad.
What did he buy?
A success card.
I see.
Congratulations card. Those big, massive things. But I still have it, by the way, somewhere.
Nice.
All those things I look up to, I'm like,
very special.
We did something. And when he said, because I told him, I had wanted to be a doctor. I'm so disappointed.
Don't worry. You performed more than I expected.
You have no idea. You have no idea what I was expecting. So we had a conversation and he told me what his expectations had been. So I was like, okay. It helped that my mom had my back, because if this was the case and it had filtered through to me, I would have done very poorly. I would have been like, if he has given up, so what's the point? What am I struggling about? Let me leave it. My mom was like, no, you can be anything.
Yes.
Just keep striving.
Yes.
So finished that, and then I spent the whole of the following year. It was an election year. So now I was in full campaign mode with my dad. So we went through that campaign, running for election, finished, he got in. And then now he said, okay, usually we used to wait 1 year before you go to campus. So after finishing the 1 year, now he asked me, okay, so are we going to KU or what's your idea? I said, I've tried to change the program. I don't want to be a teacher, blah, blah, blah. He was like, okay, what do you want to do? But what I wanted to do, computer science and everything, was not available for my grade. And we didn't have parallel those days. So it's like, okay, you will just need to go to a college and do what you can. Then we step up from there into university.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's when you joined the...
That's how it happened.
The diploma program?
Yes. Did the diploma program for information systems. I was at the CBK school called Kenya's School of Monetary Studies, Thika Road. Did that. I remember the bomb blast happened when I was up that way. Yeah, that's 97.
98.
98, yes. Did that, finished that diploma. Told me, okay, now we can go. Two of my bros by that time were in the US. I was like, okay, you can join your brothers. It's up to you what you want to do. I'm like, nah, let me try and get some work experience first, and then we can see what to do. So he plugged me into the census program. So I joined Kenya Bureau of Statistics and ran the census program for 1999. With that, counting people, just understanding, okay, that's how demographics work.
Yeah.
How many poor people, how many people own a TV set, a radio, very bleak figures those days.
Did they check a boat?
No, those days, no. That was ambitious. They were not checking boats by then. Radio and TV was as far as they went.
Yeah.
They didn't even check cell phones or anything. Anyway, it was a good exercise to open my mind to how government works. Because from that is how all the planning happens, all the funding,
resources,
all the plans,
allocation.
yes, everything, even the sessional papers that you think about, yes. If they actually read the data and decide to apply. Having data is one thing.
Yeah. Converting that into information and knowledge
and picking insights is a
something
different
else.
thing.
Yeah.
A lot of those things used to just sit on shelves.
Yeah.
So we did the census. So UNDP is the one that funded. Okay, so who cares? Yeah. I remember the census we did, was it for that year when we were doing work in April, we were being paid January salary. We were doing in May, we were being paid February salary. Because somebody clever decides to take the UNDP money as a lump sum,
invested,
puts it in a bank account.
It happens even today, actually.
Yes. So he pays 3 months late. He's making money off our salaries.
And it's a lot of money.
And our money was not much. It was, I think we paid 500 bob a day or something.
But if you multiply that...
of course, by the number of people.
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we're just making money, man. I'm like, man, what is this? Well, that is like, don't worry. That's how life is. You're getting in. Don't worry. Then one day I wake up, he tells me, by the way, I hear, the Intercon, they are starting off with setting up a cyber cafe. I know you've done IT systems. Yes, the hotel.
Okay.
Systems and all. And, you could just walk there and just ask. Intercon was behind Parliament. So
is it not still there? Or
it was closed.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still there. The sign is the building, but there's nothing happening. Says because they used to frequent there as MPs.
Yeah.
Like, just go and check. I had rumor. I was sitting in a table, there are some conversations. So I don't know anyone. I can't tell you who to go and see. Just go and ask and hear. Maybe there's something. I walked to the back. The CB, Kenya Bureau of Statistics officers were at Nyai House. We walk Nyai House, the back gate. You get to Intercon, the back side. And then I said, I'm here. I have come for the IT job. The guy, watchman, asked me, what IT job? No, there's a job for cyber. Even him, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. So he tells me, I just go IT, ingia huko kwa HR, go and see it. I went. HR man just, you're one of the guys who really... the way you get into a space that maybe was not yours, but opportunity and
aligned.
Chance, yes. I'm like, I'm the one, Oh, so IT, you did, So tell me about cyber. How do cybers work? And there's this thing around just learning stuff that is outside of your zone. Try and get one or two things around.
And usually again, you are an avid reader.
Yes, yes. And they say for IQ, you have to be a specialist to know everything about this one thing and to know something about everything else.
Yeah.
That something would change your life.
True.
So I got there, he asked me, I'm like, whatever I know must be more than what this guy knows. So I told him 2-3 stories like, that sounds okay. So today is Thursday. Okay. He called some guy there. Take measurements for this guy. Went to a PIMA uniform. Yeah. Like, why? He hasn't even asked for a CV. He hasn't asked for nothing. He's like, okay. They PIMA. They said, okay, so can you come Monday, 8 o'clock? It's you come with whatever you'll be with, your clothes, we will give you uniform. I showed up on Monday. I was given a full uniform there. Entered.
And you're on payroll, everything.
Yes,
you are.
systems administrator. Hotel Intercontinental, cyber cafe, clerk. I'm the guy connecting.
And even back in the day, Intercontinental was something.
Yes, it was massive. It was mostly American. Actually, I'll even explain why. So I'm the guy now who is connecting guests in rooms. The Wi-Fi is not working. I'm the guy who is sorting them out.
So did you start now learning on the job?
Yes,
Now that
majority of the time I was there reading. When now I'm alone in the cyber, people have gone, I'm opening, logging into sites,
How
checking.
do you set up things?
Hey,
And
on the
there's
job.
free internet.
On the job, learn. Yes, the free internet. See, I'm the guy who is managing the cyber.
And I remember back that's 98, 2000s?
That's 99, 2000.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was no much of cell phones and luxury of
there weren't.
internet.
They weren't.
If you are lucky, maybe you had connected using cable.
Yes. Used to be a dial-up. Some weird things which were just, man. And
5 KB
expensive. Yes. I remember 15 minutes used to be $200.
Yeah, it was
cyber.
very expensive, yeah.
Yeah. $200. So I was like, man, this guy is just minting money.
Yeah.
But anyway, the only other cafe I knew was Hard Rock, which was at Barclays Plaza at that time. It was a cyber of some sort. And then now, I think it was Kenya where Africa Online had started some e-cybers around. So there wasn't much happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember this, we don't have undersea cable at that time. So everything is going through telecoms, single dish in long or not. I think it was like was it a GB even? It wasn't a GB.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
your phone,
people used to receive like a KB.
Yes, your phone has more capacity than what Kenya had for like 30 years. Your phone. As in maybe 5 times the capacity.
That's things that you're consuming within seconds.
Yes, it's madness.
Watch one video, you have consumed
It's gone.
the data for one county.
Imagine. So went through that, joined, got into the system. Now he started visiting while I'm working. He'll come and just sit there. He's just telling me stories. Today, the speaker said this, the whatever I did. I'm like, okay. Then you see it, and then when somebody comes, CEO, so and so, and then when I went in, I never went with my name. I never went to say, I'm so and so, because I knew it would bring some chaos, or So I just went undercover. I joined. I used my second name. People would come and they find the guy there, and they're wondering, what does that guy keep coming to do at the cyber? I'm like, no. He's a guy from my village. He just comes to say hi, tells me how people are doing in the village. I don't want to say it's my dad. Because it could change my fortunes, man.
True.
Yeah, people would be like, why is this guy working? They could, anything. And I was scared about the impression. Yeah. We went through that, learned, picked things on the job. Now learned how.
Had you finished your diploma then, or?
Now, by then I had finished my diploma. I was now trying to get into uni, proper uni. I was like, okay. So in that period, my dad is like, okay, it's up to you. If you want, go to the US, like your brothers, or you can stay around. You decide what you want to do. I'm like, man, I've started touching money, so I'm like, let me do this for like another year. Let's see how things are. I'll let you know. But they were so much fun because I'm living alone. I don't need to buy clothes because I have my uniform when I come to work. I'm picked and dropped from the house as staff. I eat all my meals in the hotel because there's a staff cafeteria. They are free.
So even you didn't have a girlfriend, nothing?
No, I wasn't even dating at that time.
Why would you need if everything is taken care of?
What am I? I mean, I go to the office 7 a.m., work until 3 because it used to be shifts. Sometimes the guy who's supposed to bail me out at 3 doesn't show up, or maybe he's been sent to a different, because nobody knew the importance of internet. Sent to a different, I do 2 shifts. 7 a.m. up to like 11 p.m.
So you have more money.
Yes, make more money. Then people live there. They're like, they don't even go home. I think there was that time was mostly Zanze and Dolce. Those were the clubs. They go there. Till morning. The guy comes from the pub at 6:30, straight back into the intercon, showers, dresses up to the reception.
What?
And he's there for another 12 hours. I'm like, man, that life. But we lived it. Yeah. It was okay. It was just
it's young guys anyway. So.
Survive. I didn't have a mattress. I mean, I had a mattress. I remember when I moved out, I bought a mattress, and that was it. My dad is like, no. You need to buy your own things. So there's nothing like carrying your things. These are my things.
Now you are an adult.
Yeah, these are the things in my house are my things. So you plan yourself. Bought a mattress, put it on the ground. I have photos of me sleeping on a mattress somewhere. Then I started now building from there. But I didn't have to buy utensils.
Started from the foundation.
Yes. I didn't buy utensils because I didn't need to cook. And I never hosted anyone because hosting is a cost. So I was like, no, let me just operate in the hotel.
Remotely.
Yeah, the days when I'm so tired, I don't want to go home. I just tell the duty manager, he gets me a room, I sleep. Wake up in the morning. It was a good life. And we put in serious time. I mean, built stuff there, made things happen. Until, the rug was pulled from under our feet by 9/11. So, Intercon, American Hotel. Majority, like 70% of the guests were Americans.
They're the ones who booked the Intercon.
Yes, because that was the hotel. Even when, what is her name? The foreign secretary at that time was it Albright?
maybe Albright. He actually stayed at the Intercon. Yeah, so it
That's
used to
why
be-
it was the
yeah,
consulate.
That was there, yes. That was their hotel. That was anybody who is coming in from the US used to come to the Intercon. Because it was an American establishment.
and actually,
so
it
they were-
was one of the biggest hotel besides the Norfolk
Yes.
and Hilton.
And so it was A1. So standards were set as per the Intercon for the US. So when 9/11 happened, occupancy moved from 95% to 12% within a day. Because the airspaces were shut, so nobody was traveling.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any local tourists. Nobody. We just used to deal with foreigners. We never had any local guys. The only local guys were MPs, guys crossing from Parliament
Just
to have a
coming
cup
to
of
drink
yes,
tea.
and then go back. And then guys who used to come to Safari Bar, make some noise there. Majority, then British Airways and KLM used to stay there as well. That was their hotel for staff.
Yeah.
So when they're in the country, layovers, they would stay there. That was it. That was the business model. 9/11 happened. Everything went
Done.
And so, as per even computer systems, last in, first out.
Redundant.
Yes. Because why are we keeping
It's
guys
called
here?
FIFO. First in, first out.
Why are we keeping guys here? And we
Yes.
can't sustain them.
Yes.
So it's easier to let go of the guys who are younger in the business because the payoff is less. These guys, some guys have been there 30, 40 years. So there's no way how they're going to release them. So they have to figure out.
That experience
Let-
cannot just be
Yes,
let go. Yeah.
you will pay heftily. So let's keep those ones, even if they can't do the cyber job. Let's keep those ones and get these other young guys to live. So left, but I was like, I have skills for talking and doing stuff, and they had a membership club. I'm like, okay, let me sell for you guys your loyalty club. It used to be called Privilege Club, the Intercon. So call big people, tell them, hey, there's this, you can come, you can have brunch over the weekend. For all that is for 10,000 shillings per year. And you'll be having priority when you want to book hotels, you want to do all these things.
Yeah.
Made some sales. That was my first sales job, selling the hotel on the phone.
So you started nursing sales, and actually these has played a key role in your, like the rest of your
Yes,
of your career. And there's one thing that I even personally learned from that is that some of those small opportunities that we create and be passionate about, because at the end of the day, where would you go and have a cyber job, right?
Yes.
They come in handy over time in the shapers. And then you did that for how many years?
That was like for 3 years. That is 2001, 2, 3. And then in the third year, I tried to sell this club to some guy. I called somebody from Old Mutual Insurance Company, the CEO, because we used to shortlist based on influence
profiles,
and title, because those are the guys who can afford 10,000 shillings just lying somewhere without any use. I called the guy up, I told him my story. I was very good at English and convincing people. He's like, okay. I'm not committing to anything. You come and see me.
Yeah.
So I went to see the guy. I narrated to him the story, told him how this thing will help him. He's asking me, I just put money there, and then what does it do? It doesn't do anything. But when you come, we use that as some loyalty things. Like, how long have you done this thing? So I told him, 3 years. Told me, I have a real job for you. I have a real job for you. This is not a job. This thing you're doing, this is a joke.
Yeah.
Who are people buying this thing? I'm like,
En masse.
Which people are these? I need to meet these guys. I think you even have a ready clientele. If the guys have bought that thing, this air thing, they can buy what I want to give you to sell. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I said, come and sell insurance.
The hardest job on the planet Earth.
I got into insurance.
2003.
3 years. Till 2006. Selling insurance, knocking on people's doors, getting into, receptions, and everyone disappears. I was powerful.
Yeah.
You know the way nobody wants to do insurance, guys.
That's why I said it's the hardest job on the planet Earth. If you have sold insurance successfully, you're gonna be wealthy. Yes. You're just I don't know. You're not utilizing your talent.
There's that aspect, which I'm now utilizing. But anyway, yes. So I got in there. He gave me the job. He told me, first 3 months I'll pay you some retainer. From the 4th month, you're on your own. Go and make the money and support yourself. Like, let's do this, man. So got in with my list of the guys I'd sold air to. Call them up, tell them now there's something I can sell you value, but the last thing an African wants to hear, when you die. When you start a segment
prophesying
when you die, the guy just shuts down.
So
I realized, I can't use that language for insurance people. When you die, your family will have this. He says, I'm not working for my family. I'm working for me. I want to see something that is tangible today. So now I changed tact.
realized, okay, there's other ways I can do this thing. Since I'm good at writing, let me look for a way. I'll write a script. So what I would do is I look through my emails. Those days, people used to forward things. You know, the way now we are doing WhatsApp, sending messages. People used to forward on email, all sorts of
Yahoo.
things. Yes, Yahoo and Gmail. So I go into my profile and look at. I had like 4 email addresses just for the sake of collecting data. People forward things and I used to encourage people, hey, you don't have any new forwards nowadays. Because what was I doing? I was harnessing data. You know, those days we didn't have GDPR. Eh?
Yes.
So I'd go into my email, look for all the mails I've been sent for. Then I look for the addresses which end at africastocking.com, at eabl.com.
Yeah.
Of course, those are stuff. At at kcb.co.ke. I know. But if I see at Gmail, I can't tell. This fellow is maybe doesn't even work. Yeah. But now the problem is when I go to like twarrior at africastocking.com. Is it twarrior? Is it warrior? Is it wa? Then the other name is Iria. I can't tell. So how can I write to this guy? Dear, is it sir? Is it madam? You see, the
because
challenges.
you don't know if it's a one
They're not
name
all, yeah.
or 2 names.
And those days, it's like all of them were those ones of P. Angatia, T. Warrior. It wasn't Paul or Angatia. There were very few that were like that, which you could say, this is Paul.
Yeah.
So I say, who forwarded this email? Okay, I write the note of the person who forwarded the name, and then I list all the people who have gotten from his forward. It'll come in handy because insurance is about social proofing. Now, if you call somebody, hey, my name is so-and-so, the first thing they always ask you, first thing, where did you get my number?
True.
Yeah? if I called you, who gave mine?
Yes,
This
yes,
guy.
yes.
So they start asking. So they would ask, how did you get my email? I go back. Nani referred me. In fact, there's something we are discussing with him.
Trust.
Yes, we're discussing with him. He thought it would be useful. By the way, I don't even know that fellow who has forwarded the email. Because this is 5-6 forwards down there.
Yes.
I don't know who that is.
Yes.
But I know there is the credibility of that name.
Yes.
Hey, it opened doors. I realized, am I struggling going to bus stops and standing and people, excuse me, my name is, I work from work. I know by nature, I'm an introvert.
Yes.
It doesn't come out very clearly, but I am.
Yes.
I'm a very conservative fellow. I sometimes just want to keep my own peace. Now, to get me out to start knocking on strangers' doors and going to, offices and just opening doors and, cold calling, that was a struggle.
Yeah.
It was a struggle. I was like, this is my shortcut. See, I know I can write.
I'm going to draft these messages.
Give me.
Yes.
From that writing, by the way, I got very many referrals. That's how I built my insurance business. And I was able to thrive for like 3 years. It was 3 years and something. And then I got into another challenge because I wrote to one of those guys like that. He saw the email, he looked at it, he said, I think we need to meet. Can you come to my office, whatever. That guy was working at UUNet at that time. That was, now it is called MTN Business. So I go, tells me, you wrote me another email there.
You're very lucky.
It was very interesting. What is this you're talking about? So I said, this is my chance. There are times you sell until you forget that the customer has already bought. You're still selling. This is the fear that salespeople have because we talk so much, you forget even, you miss out the cues. So I spoke. This guy had already shut down from the 3rd minute. He wasn't listening. He was just waiting for me to finish. Then he says, I like how you express yourself, how you explain things, whatever. This thing you're selling doesn't work in Africa. I want to give you a solution that you can go and sell. Yeah, which is making a lot of sense now. It's connecting people, systems, services. It is the future. So that you stop this hogwash thing that you're doing here for. I don't know. And this is my livelihood. I'm just thinking in my head. Actually, that is one of the reasons why I dropped insurance. Because the perception, I think even till today, is so negative. Because we never had a chance to really understand how insurance can be utilized to leverage and grow, especially Africa. I mean, the US, Europe, a lot of guys in the West, insurance has done a lot for those economies. A lot. Africa, man. Penetration for life insurance.
That, anything that is managed by a corporation never works.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is just our traditional understanding. And this is not a Kenyan thing. This is Africa.
By the way,
this is an African
you have to understand this. And it's from the point of how things are even right now. You pay even NHIF or
NSSF.
In the NSSF. How many people you hear they depend on NSSF after they retire? You get what I'm saying?
You want to go
so
there.
There's that perception that, insurance, but of course what you're saying is that maybe it's not well managed and there's no that trust and confidence that this actually can really work for you. Once maybe we get there, I'm sure it will not be a hard sell. And I think we are getting there.
It shouldn't be, especially now with technology, because of InsurTech and all the things guys are doing. You can buy insurance in a day. You can insure a car when you're beginning your journey in the morning. In the evening, it's terminated. You've completed your journey. Small things like those will change. Of course, the ones for cars, it's just because it's low. I can tell you for a fact, people will not be taking that insurance. Just that it is low.
I heard, and don't quote me, that there are people who don't have insurance. They have insurance, but they don't have insurance.
Yeah, I know.
If you don't get it,
I know they are quite paid. Anyway, so the challenge was that it was on many levels. I think the biggest one we had, and I remember I once used that trick. We were very ferocious people and as you said, if you sell insurance in Kenya or in Africa, you can sell anything.
True.
I got to the point where now I learned a trick from one of the guys that we had gone to do a pitch with. This guy had gone and he had gone to a carpenter. The carpenter had made for him a small coffin. Yeah, complete with like a glass viewing thing up here. But it's the size of, a pen case, the one that holds a pen. Yeah, a very small one. Wooden, he's put some varnish. Looks very neat. It used to fit in his pocket, the inside coat.
He used to carry a coffin on his coat.
Yeah, I used to carry it. So we've gone, we've pitched, we've spoken until the mouth goes dry. This guy is not budging. And it was a high net worth individual, a guy who would pay upwards of 50,000 a month. Yeah, good money. We've spoken. Then we realized this is not working. So, I'm ready to leave, as in we are wasting time here. This guy tells me, no, okay. So I've understood the guy had all the answers, all the pushbacks.
So there's no way you could get him.
We tried. And this is a guy I'm going with, a veteran of like 20 years. So he has seen it all.
Yeah.
So I had never seen this coffin of it. So that part I didn't know. So I'm saying it's done. Why are you wasting time? He says, okay, so what I want to understand, just tell me. People know that we know each other. You tell me. The day when you're lying here, he removes the thing, puts it on it. When you're lying here in this thing, tell me when I'm going to tell your wife why you died and you are a poor man, you never had any plans for children and all. Tell me what I'll say.
You guys had courage.
He put the coffin on the table.
You guys were not beaten up?
No, we were never beaten up. No, there were places we were chased.
You guys were lucky.
But
I'm telling you, even today, if you do that to some guys, they will...
No, of course, they will assault you.
Yes.
That guy, we were lucky. I think we had pushed to the edge
limit
until he said, it's okay. To get rid of these guys, let me just
subscribe.
And he signed. But amazingly, those difficult ones, they're the ones who stay for life. That guy maintained that policy for 25 years, until he died. 25 years. 25. And they made good money. I think it was paid something like 40 million, the family. So it was a good thing.
Nice.
And it was good that we forced the guy to do that. Because, as you say, a lot of these guys carry facades. They are out here, opulence, big cars and all. But in actual fact, when you strip that guy to the bone, there's nothing. And it gets very, very traumatic for like the children. Having seen, we used to go live this lavish lifestyle. Why should it be that somebody dies, they were living in Lavington, then the kids have to move to like Umoja? And I'm not saying Umoja is a bad place. But, how do those kids adjust to life? They were born in Lavington. But apparently this guy, this house was not even in his name. So anyway, insurance helps with such cases, believe it or not.
I like how you put that.
So anyway, did that case, came out. So by the time now I was going to sell to this guy of mine for unit, which he tells me, no wonder you're not making sales. This insurance we don't buy. People make money, they invest, they use that money to support their families. This insurance nonsense, we don't buy. So here, come tomorrow, I'll explain to you what you can do. Said, it doesn't hurt. I'm in the learning game. In any case, I'm not salaried by anyone. This is a commission job. I showed up. Showed me, okay, now I want you to sell internet connectivity. And I'll show you how it works. And when you connect to the internet, the world that is
now
open
you had that
you.
Experience of a cyber cafe.
Yes, I remember how I was doing my connections. It's like things have progressed. Forget about those dial-ups you're doing. Now we are even higher speeds. Still, the undersea cable hasn't landed because this was 2006. So he shows me, tells me, and in fact, what were you being paid? So I gave him the figure that I was being paid on the first month, which is like the highest figure I was ever paid there, as in terms of salary. So they would pay you 30,000, and then month 2, 20,000, then month 3, 10,000. Month 4, you're on your own. So I went and said 30,000. But I never said it was 30,000 only 1 month. As I said 30,000, he said, I'm going to pay you 45. So 45
every month guaranteed.
He said 45 per month. I'm like, wow. Kumbe people can earn this money. Okay. So I said, okay, fine. We can start. Where do I begin?
Wait a minute, Paul. So this issue of your dad saying you can go to overseas and study.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
That was done.
Sorry, I haven't. I jumped the gun. So when 9/11 happens, I start selling this thing online, and then 2003 I start selling insurance. So we scheduled for me to join campus to go to New Jersey, 2004 January. It was like, okay, plans, everything done, SATs, whatever, GMAT, everything. It's because my brothers were there, so there was a process, I'm like, fine. So let me make some money on these calls and a few, because I knew this insurance is just for a year. I'm not even going to do it for long. 2004 in January, out of nowhere, my dad gets sick. I think it was like in Jan, like 10th of Jan. And I'd planned to fly like, I think it was February or March, I can't remember. Jan, he gets very sick out of nowhere. Somebody who's never been to hospital. So we're like, what's wrong? And this is the problem with, they usually say, when you live in like, why you and I can't go and eat like in, where can I say? Maybe not being demeaning, maybe Korogosho. Because maybe the water they cook with is not on a certain level, whatever. The guys who are there are okay. They'll never.
But if somebody else comes,
because your immunity level is not on that level of that guy. So the moment you get exposed to that thing, it will probably take you out. So he's never been in hospital, never been. So there was never a time when you needed to ever check anything, if a guy is unwell and anything. Apparently, during his travels, during campaigns, in 1981, still young by then, one of those, because he would go on a campaign for like 2 weeks, because that constituency was massive, I told you. One of those areas, there was a time when they were driving down some place and some villagers from the opposing camp rolled a ball down to the road. And they had these old Renaults, very tough ones, very old, crashed into that boulder. They were not injured, at least, but they never used to do internal things and all. They just went, check up a bit. The guy is like, no. We have to get to the next rally. So he moved on. After the checkups, they're like, this guy is not too bad. In fact, the checkup was done in the evening at the hospital. And it was just basic, how are you feeling? How are your bones? The doctor feels you. There are no x-rays and things like those. So it turns out that when he had that accident, and he went on to play football even for the MP Parliament, Kenya Parliament team. At the bottom of his spine, there was a bit of a fragmentation that happened. So dropped into the spinal cord. Some bones fragmented at the bottom of the spine. And these things over the years, he'd once in a while complain of backache, whatever. And I'm like, no, politicians and men, we don't go to hospital. Don't like checkups. Now suddenly he's very unwell because he can't stand straight. He's feeling pain in the back. His joints, even when the wind passes, he's feeling pain on the skin. We're like, what's this? So we started doing checkups. Now, because of those checkups, I wasn't able to, because now I was the one taking him around. Let's go to hospital. Let's check here. Let's do this. I wasn't able to fly out. I was like, once we are sorted with this thing, we'll know what happens, then I'll go. February, March, April. By the time we were realizing what he was suffering from, it was in May. By the time we've spent so much money on hospitals, they are not diagnosing. Gone to all the big hospitals. It was actually diagnosed by some hospital in Eldoret. Because he had been like, I'm tired of this. And he's in Nairobi. I'm going home. So like a friend of his called me, hey, Prof, man, you used to be my teacher in KU. Come, let's check for you. They did for him those checkups, and he found the guy he'd developed leukemia. Based on the fact that the bones, when they fragmented, they went into the bloodstream and poisoned. So over time, sitting there, the blood was poisoned, and it now festered and created some case of leukemia. So now, leukemia. He's like, okay, so what do we do? He's like, me, I've lived my life. I'm okay. Let's just try and maintain this thing. We manage it. So the doctors didn't want to tell us, but it was like stage 4. It was far gone, really far gone. But because, he never used to do oils. He never used to eat fried stuff all his life. So a lot of it didn't manifest. It was like the body was just fighting and doing things. It was like, boiled maize, I don't know, nduma, I don't know, black ugali, all those things. Now, when he gets that sick, he goes back home, stays in the village. We try and manage stuff, buying him drugs and all. Even guys rally, MPs, and at that time he didn't make it into the 2002 parliament. So he's now an ex-MP. When MPs are rallying, they're saying, we hear the guy is sick, we want to see what they were planning to actually lift him to the UK, because in the UK they transfuse. They treat leukemia.
So I know they treat for kids.
Is it the one that they remove the bone marrow and replace it?
Yeah,
Okay.
bone marrow
But
transplant.
it's a very
plasma.
expensive
Very.
process.
Very. And there was no way this guy was going to spend any of his money. It's like, my kids have how many years to live, man? What am I? Me, I've lived how many? What have I not done? I've served in all levels of government. What am I lacking?
Yeah.
So he was content to stay in the village there. These guys really, they put money together. They try to whisk him, sneak him out of the country. He's like, but then I'll go, but I'll come back in a coffin. So they're like, okay. And with terminal diseases, if the person themselves, they don't have the will,
you never get
waste of time.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, me, I'm okay. So he just, slowly deteriorating. So the challenge was that because he was the go-to person, now it's a big crisis to everyone because they don't have a go-to person. And he doesn't have a go-to person.
Yeah. So he's just dealing with everything by himself.
Yes. The challenge of people who are go-to, and my mom, I think, used to tell me that thing. Don't be a go-to person for people who you cannot go to. Yeah, that's a waste of your life because you'll be the one, he told us, and people who take don't have limits. You just keep taking. Figure out how you can find some controls so that when things are tight, you can also go and get some relief. He never had that kind of a system. He was always the one at the top of the tree. Even if he had built this whole social network such that now people who are dependent on him were not too many. But still, he didn't have anyone he could be dependent on.
Yes.
So he stayed in charge. Then one day, my mom calls me from nowhere and says, hey, are you in Nairobi? Hey, come. Where are your brothers? Call them. Your dad has been looking quite unwell the last few days. So you guys come, you need to come and see him.
Yeah.
So we traveled. I think it was August holidays that year. August or September. Went, so the guy, he was there. That time now, he has catheters. He has all sorts of things. Hair disappeared. But you can still hear his voice is strong. He's still talking. He's still, active. Yeah, guys, they're planning out life. So what are your kids doing? What are you guys doing? Okay, this is what you need to do. He's still planning things for people. Yeah. So anyway, she used to have intuition. I think mothers have those things. She was basically telling us, hey, come and say Kwaheri. So we went, saw the guy. And then we came back to Nairobi. 2 months later, he passed on. Like, okay. That was like, but he had planned his life out. He had already seen.
He lived fully.
Yes. So he didn't have any regrets and all. So it was meant to be a bit of a celebration. But then what happened is it curtailed my plan.
I didn't go to study out
Yes,
there,
I didn't go. So I was like, now what am I going to do with school? Then at that time, I had a sister. I have a younger sister. So she had just joined Catholic University that year.
So there is a fee burden.
There's fee, yes. So who's going to pay these fees? And he hadn't, these things of just amassing. He never amassed those things. Never. In fact, he died intestate. He didn't have a will even. So we're trying to process wills and things in 10 years later. That's when my mom was getting all the estate, whatever, letters of administration. So in that period, you couldn't use any resources. See? And then, because there's no money in the bank and all these things, it was just a pension that was coming from MPs. And the MP's salary was 72,000. So a pension from, 72,000. You can't believe what it is right now. But anyway, 72,000. So the pension of 72,000, they don't put inflationary protection.
Oh, yeah.
So whatever pension, it was 6,000, 5,000 pension, that is what you'll be sent. Till 19, whatever. They don't have any, inflation has, nothing. Up to you. So anyway, so we got into the mode now to support my sister. Because I'm like, where I've reached, man, I can hustle through this life.
And there's something coming in. So
yes. This my sister doesn't have, so let's figure out what we can do for her.
Yeah.
So we try to now get her through campus, continue to going. So because now the resources, amazingly, when I would be selling insurance, because I guess sometimes they say people's prayers are answered through other people. So somehow I always had deals. There were always deals to settle her fees.
Yeah.
I've sold this, I've done it, always. Until the day when she graduated. When she graduated, the deals disappeared. So I think
that is interesting.
God, in His wisdom, was answering her prayer through me and making sure that I had sufficient to support her. Which is what I did. So now, when we finish now, then I'm now shifting to this other job. I'm like, I need to get my paperwork in place, man. I can't go on like this.
Yeah.
So I looked for a college. I'm like, all these things are so expensive. Then I have to leave the country. And I've never had the ambition to really relocate. Yeah, my bros were there. They did 3-4 jobs. By the time they settled and became proper.
It was hard.
Yeah, at some point they had disappeared in the system. Because when your papers, whatever, expire and you can't surface, you just live underground until when they sorted out that stuff and all. So I was like, that doesn't sound like a very good life. So I never had the ambition. A lot of guys sent me applications. We had people who left school
Kinatedi, many guys left and gone to the US. Hey, there's a chance, there's a process, you can do this, that, the other. I would be half-hearted. I'd be like, I'll feel it, but I never ever went through with the process. I think also my dad passing on left such a dump in my life. I was like, why am I going that far? The guy is just here. I think you get such an attachment. You don't want to go far. Then my mom is here. We are still beating stories, the survival, how life was. Things were okay. So I was like, nah, I'll stick around. So then I looked for a college online. I got Washington University, joined, and that's when I did my business administration, international business administration. Online for like 3 years. By the time I had already joined UNED by that time, changed into MTN. The likes of Bitang and them had come into power, and we got our undersea cable. And then from there, as you say,
Did you join? That's when you joined Safaricom.
So now Safaricom poached me from MTN business 2010. They're like, hey, we hear you do this, that, the other. Come on, you can do for us a few things. And I joined Safaricom. Account manager. Then moved on, started managing people. By the time, 5 years, I think I'd moved up. Like every 2 years, I kept moving. So it was a good time as well. In that period is when also, I think the prowess within the industry now,
started.
I was just now showcasing a lot of things, talents and all, innovations, change systems in Safaricom, help them to get better strategies around going to market, revenue generation for the enterprise side, where the guys would set up the enterprise business unit actually. So Oracle guys come and say, hey, we hear you're doing this, that, the other. Somebody has left.
The guru.
Come, man. So
you were the one who set up Oracle in Kenya, right?
No. Oracle in Kenya had been set up by, there's a guy who was there before, who was also I had met in high school. He's the one who set it up. And he had really done a lot. He's the guy who actually made me move from Safaricom.
Because there was that connection from high school.
From high school. Okay. And also, they had lost somebody. There's a guy who, I don't know, I think it was fraud or something. Anyway, somebody left unceremoniously. The guy was in the role. So then I moved into the role. So then I ran the role for like 1 year. And then this guy who had pulled me in moved to another company to become now a serious don on that side, but left me exposed. I'm like, wow, because now I needed to move. He was country leader. So I needed to have done at least 3 years to qualify to be country leader. He left when I was at 1.5 years. So they brought in somebody else, and we never got along. Brought in some lady, and she just, I don't know, there was some insecurities around, maybe I know stuff, I want her role. I was not interested. I was happy in the role that I had. But anyway, long and short is, with all experience and all, she created a restructuring. Said it was global, but it was just targeting me and another guy, 2 guys. She had her own plans. But I said, anyway, what transpired from that, why I was not too disappointed is because from that experience, I then now went into consulting. Now set up my own business, entrepreneurship. So it wasn't very much, how would I put it? Wasn't voluntary per se. I was pushed into it, circumstances. That's 2017. Just come out of an election. We've had a rerun. Everybody's just looking like things are bad in this country. And then somebody tells you, by the way, your job is surplus to requirements. I'm like, okay, what do we do? It's not my dad's company. So, so
move along.
Let me come and remember what Jack Ma used to say, 9 to 5, 5 to 9. Do your thing, learn as much as you can, because one day you'll need those skills. Now you coalesce and consolidate all those skills and the skill set into now consulting. Then I go into consulting across now different lines of business, financial planning because of insurance. I'm doing also career planning because of all these recruitment things that I've been doing in Safaricom. It was a very big segment of my role. And then I was also doing sales management. In that period, I go and consult for a company called Avanti. It's a VSAT from the UK. Consult, give them a plan to do East Africa, what they can do, grow the business and all. After 2-3 months of back and forth trying to help them out, they're like, this thing of yours, man, it's brilliant, but we are unable to execute. Please, can you come on board, help us to execute it? So I joined Avanti now full time. I left the the consulting for a bit. I was in Avanti for the next 2 years or so, 2018 up to 2021. Then last year, they got hit, COVID and all, and then the thing that you never hear a lot about, they sold out the products. Basically, it's a satellite company, so it has capacity that is bought on a transponder in the sky. That is the transponder that is used to provide internet connectivity.
When the cable doesn't work, or?
No, So some places people still use satellite, but it was mostly for remote regions and also backhauling. Like Safaricom, there are base stations like in Garissa, Lodwar. They use VSAT. Yes, because
the VSAT base station takes like 2 days to set up. Very quick, very cheap, maybe $5,000, $7,000. The typical base station, normal one, takes about a month and costs about $750,000. It's a massive difference. But then this one, money. But this doesn't carry too much capacity. And in any case, they put it in areas where the population is very little. It doesn't justify investing $750,000 to set up that. So we got good business in setting up those ones. Kenya, and also a lot for MTN, South Sudan, DRC, Uganda, yes, Somali, a lot, until we ran out of capacity. So now, what were we doing there? I was just sitting managing customers. People call, I'm now managing complaints. I'm like, this is not a life. I think it's just sapping my energy. 2 years. Yeah. What am I doing here? So anyway, they gave us an option, handshake, guys can leave. We create a smaller business that just manages the customers we have on board because we can't grow any further. Sure. I'm like, handshake. So I left last year in September and now moved back into consulting. Now full swing into startups. Building stuff, trying to figure out what guys are trying to achieve in the market. Yes, tech, mostly fintech, agri-tech. Those two. So,
and when I look at your experience, Paul, it's quite amazing that you have come a long way. And now when you put the stories, your personal growth story and what you are doing right now, it becomes a full house in how someone can understand what you have been doing throughout the different career path that you have had, and it's quite outstanding, I would say. And we are honored to have you here today. I would like to ask your parting shot to our listeners.
Okay.
I like that thought. I love that thought.
I think there are so many shots. That's the problem. Just one. I'm trying to I think, confine it into just maybe one thing that I can say. That will probably can add value to people.
Someone.
I think
especially to entrepreneurs.
So on the I think on the entrepreneur end, what I've always seen is as a big challenge is everybody is interested in setting up something. Where we find people are struggling to scale is because we are always going out to create products and look for customers for products. Whereas we are actually supposed to create products for our customers, not look for customers for our product.
So provide solutions to the customers.
Yes, which means there's something that is existing. There's a gulf, there's a gap, there's a need, there's a pain. We're going to solve that pain. We're looking at who is our competitor, how many people are impacted by this pain. If I'm in the same pain, would I use this product that I'm setting up? How far, what more can I do with it in terms of getting out of my boundaries? If you figure that out, it resolves many problems around useless products that we have in the marketplace. Because people come in, they say, I saw something in San Francisco, I saw something in where they come, they create something, they say, okay, we are going to market. Ideally, for the ones that are scalable and the quickest to actually return revenue, are those products that are addressing a need that was identified before the product was even concepted. Because even when I was in Safaricom, we came up with many products. We started looking for customers for those products. It is the hardest thing you'll ever do in sales.
True.
If we just went and discovered what are the products that customers require, the customers will come. For those because products. They already know what they need. And unless you're Steve Jobs, because that's the one guy that I know who created...
To say the customer doesn't know what they need until
he created the need. He influenced the pain himself. He went and told us the way, these phones we have are of no use. They are not phones. We need a phone that can do computerization, can do photos, everything together like a computer. And we suddenly said, we have this pain. We never had such a pain. There was no such pain. He created it. And from there, Apple has never looked back. Everybody else, of course, you will get one of those. There are a few of those outliers which you get. People create something and they force it into the market and it works. Majority of the time, especially for us when we're trying to start up things, before you really have the revenues to drive solutions, try and see how you can address a pain that is existing.
True.
It will solve so many problems down the road. And now in there, you're now building things of your intelligence, that thing of knowing one thing about so many things helps to build your capacity around being a reference or go-to person to help people, lift them up.
And then just understanding your surroundings, which is, people call it EQ. Just knowing, okay, where I am and how can I help myself in the environment that I am. And this is not limited to techies. It's actually just across the globe. We also do some career counseling.
Yeah.
Additionally is to know there's a time when you'll have a lot of adversity. So there's that EQ you need to build.
Is it emotional quotient or?
Emotional is the one where you just understand your surroundings, how people are around you, what they are doing, and how you respond to those non-verbal cues.
Yeah.
Somebody's in pain, you're trying to sell something to them. It doesn't make any sense. People haven't eaten the whole day, you're trying to talk about this utopia of we'll do this, that, the other.
Yeah.
The things we were talking about for, Northeastern.
Yeah.
We're trying to sell to them, we'll bring drones to, I don't know, do what. These guys are dying. They have not even had water for 4 days.
A drone would save 4 families.
So, you see, so the mismatch. So it's just to understand, it's not just about understanding the people around you, it's also that environment.
Yeah.
So that then you apply accordingly to that environment to get the best, both from the environment and from yourself.
Yeah.
Adversity is these things we talk about. It doesn't mean our careers will always be a straight line. They'll never be. There'll be dips. There'll be places when somebody will wake up and tell you, there are planes that have crashed into these 2 towers and your job is gone. What are you going to do? Are you going to repair the towers?
No.
Yeah, you move on with life. I mean, you have to find a way. Or you'll be told, okay, you sold all the capacity, or I don't like your face. There are people like that. That's just the way life is. I don't like your face, please. Tomorrow, I don't want to see that face here. Yeah, find a place where that face will be liked and take it there. So, and then there's also one from my mom, which is, we used to call it the love quotient, LQ, which is very important to people who come from very disadvantaged environments, because you've had so much pain, hatred, anger tied in. You've never really experienced love, because love unlocks so many other things beyond all the other cues. Because if you find somebody who's a boss, this LQ is sorted. That guy will treat people well. He will apply his intelligence properly. He'll have the right emotional balance. He'll also have the social. Social is where I'm stuck on the road. At 3 a.m., I can make 2 calls.
Yeah.
Maybe the first call won't be picked. The second one will be picked and somebody will show up.
Yeah.
That is social. If you don't have that, it's time to work on it, because it means the day you'll be stranded,
you're alone.
Yeah, and there are times when you think your resources will do work for you. You have 10 farms, whatever, land and everything. When you're sick, the hospital is not interested in the land. They want cash to sort out bills. Yeah. You have to look for somebody to liquidate this land of yours.
Yes.
Many times, a lot of our wealthy people don't even have that. So if you can cut across on all those, especially the LQ one, those cues make sense across all industries. Yeah. But they're very important for people who are trying to start up and do something, because you don't exist in a vacuum. Yeah. You have to understand how everything fits in with this thing that you're trying to build and how it adds value. The moment you're there, transforming lives, changing, impacting more than one person, you have a chance of making it in life. If it's just for you that you're looking at and you're most interested in the revenues, you will sink, because your eye will be so much on that revenue, you will forget how you even got there, which means that when you start tumbling down, you will not know what to hold on to, because you don't know what you built going up. Yeah, it's like a house that comes up in 2 days. The other guy takes 3 months to build up the house, because concrete needs to keep drying up. You came with your wood, you stuck the wood in the ground, and you started hammering upstairs and going. When the wind comes, that wood goes down in 2 days. Whereas the other guy who took 3 months, 6 months, his house still stands. So it's not always that because your colleague has done something overnight and it's working, you also want to do overnight. You give it time. Trust the process. You'll probably get to the success level. And we are still going. We are not finished.
Gems after gems. Paul Angatia, thank you so much. This was amazing. This was great. And these are the kind of conversations that will change Africa as we know it. And it's one thing to say something and it's another thing to do, but Paul Angatia has said and done it. And he's still here. We can learn a lot from him. But for today, I would like to thank you for joining us. This is Michael Kimathi for Impact Masters and Africa's Talking Podcasts. Until next time, see you.